here, the heavier precipitation back into New Mexico and West Texas, and then the spotty shower activity that's on behind this system coming up from the north. This area of heavier precipitation occurred last night. Texas, it could snow. So getting pretty deep with that cold air pretty far south, and there you can see the temperature anomalies over the next 5 days. So it's going to remain very chilly, in particular today and tomorrow. But we warm up. By Monday, we get a high pressure ridge coming in. This trough is still stubborn to move very quickly to the east, but it does. But notice we have strong jet stream winds coming into the Pacific Northwest coast. And this is what I mean by a dirty ridge. The high pressure builds in, but there is going to be basically a forceful jet stream pushing against the high and wanting to beat it down a little bit. And that allows pieces of energy and instability and moisture to break off, come through the high pressure ridge. And there you can see that by Tuesday. See the high pressure ridge, the top of it gets knocked off. So it's not able to completely block these low pressure systems. It will allow, the door will be open to crack, so to speak, to allow Pacific energy and moisture through. And that's going to produce, as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, some scattered shower and thunderstorm activity, but this is certainly going to be a warmer pattern. By Friday, the ridge kind of rebuilds itself. So the Thursday, Friday time frame is probably the warmest couple of days next week. But we have the next approaching trough coming in the Pacific Northwest. That'll be throwing mid and high level cloudiness into the region and some shower activity into the Pacific Northwest coast, into central and northern areas of California. Eventually, this trough will get pushed through the Intermountain West, and that will likely result in cooler temperatures and a chance for precipitation on a more widespread basis, probably sometime next weekend or shortly thereafter. So we'll be keeping an eye and talking about this system on Monday some more. Have yourself a great weekend. Stay warm. See you Monday.
Wyoming is a big state. There's so much ground to cover, so many stories to tell. But the Cowboy State Daily News team is up to the challenge. I'm Wendy Core, host of Cowboy State Daily Video News. Whether it's politics in Cheyenne, energy issues in the Powder River Basin, or grizzlies in Yellowstone, our talented crew of experienced journalists are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. What's the best restaurant in DuBois? Renee Jean checks it out. What's the most recent Supreme Court decision mean to our everyday lives? Claire McFarland explains. How is the upcoming elk hunting season shaping up? Mark Hines lets us know. Every day, I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites, and in our daily newscast, I bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily Video Newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Gracie and Pedro might not get along so well.
They're standing on my tail.
But there's one thing they agree on. There's a right seat for everyone.
Oh, that's the good stuff.
Whether you're a dog,
Hold on, Pooch.
a cat, a fish, or a rat.
And I'm a ferret.
Be sure to travel safe.
How can you be so sure?
I'm absolutely positive.
On your next adventure, make sure your children are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
So I wanted to talk with you and your mom today, Lily, because some people at school have noticed changes going on with you, and we're concerned.
Like what? Who?
Some of your friends, teachers. It sounds like you've lost interest in a lot of things lately. You're hanging with new friends.
So,
individually, maybe those things are no big deal, but taken together, and then the incident the other day, you were with Derek when he was caught selling marijuana.
yeah, he was selling it.
Honey, we know. But we care about you and want to know what's going on.
That's right. We just want to understand better and see how we might help. And if weed is a part of it, we just want to make sure you understand the negative consequences for someone your age, the physical and mental health effects, the poor decision making, and the confusing legal aspects these days. So what do you say? Can we talk?
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Come on! Go, Diane! Yeah, keep it going!
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11 to nothing in the rain, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Throw that ball, Diane. Woo! You got this.
Good morning and welcome back to the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show on this Friday. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake. He will be back on Monday, but glad to be here. I've had tons of fun and, of course, a lot of great guests that we'll have joining the show for Friday. So thanks for being with me on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. Let's head to the Zoom room. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Aaliyah joining the show. Aaliyah, how do you pronounce your last name?
Thanks for asking. It's Alia Dostagir.
Oh, Alia.
It's
Alia
okay.
Dostiger. Say it one more time.
Sure. Alia Dostagir.
Dostiger. Ooh, I like that. All right. Alia, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Of course. I love the topic we'll be discussing this morning. But Alia, can you tell the folks a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am a journalist. I was a reporter for about 10 years at USA Today and left to write this book about women in online abuse, which I'm very happy to be discussing with you today. And I'm actually currently a student at NYU, learning how to tell stories even more effectively, I hope.
Oh, I'm sure that's a good place to be. So how's that going for you?
It's great. I graduate in like 6 weeks, and I'm trying to decide if I should go to graduation because it's my third degree. So I, graduating undergraduate and then graduate school. I brought my parents. Now I'm kind of like, do I want to bring my kids? Like, should I bring my kids to graduation?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's good, but it goes fast, to do your degree, and then it's really quick.
Well, we have a lot of folks that are listening or viewing, and they've got kids that are gearing up for graduation for high school or maybe college as well. So I love that you're continuing your education. I think that's an extremely important part of not only what you do, but the stories you tell. So let's talk about your book a little bit.
Awesome.
So,
Floor to me, or you want to? Do you have a specific question, or do I just take over?
well, I first off wanted to
Yeah.
mention the name of the book, of course, which is
Yeah.
it has a little bit longer of a title, right?
Yeah.
So
It's pretty grammatically incorrect too, and I'm happy to kind of talk about that. But go
cool.
for
Let's do that. To those who have confused you to be a person, words as violence and stories of women's resistance online.
Yes, there you go. Big, nice mouthful. Actually, I think one of the hardest things to do is name a book. Frankly,
Yeah.
we had a lot of other titles. One of them ended up being a Taylor Swift song. She stole one of my good ones. Um, it's interesting that this is a book about online abuse, online harassment, online hate, and that message was one of the last messages that I got before I decided to sort of write this book in earnest. Um, and I think what's interesting about it and why I hope it's kind of effective in that way is that you do kind of pause, right? Like you sort of have to take a moment to understand what this person is saying to you, um, why they're saying it. And I think it works as like kind of a good analog for the experience of online abuse, which is to say that absolutely sometimes it's very clear, right? What a person is, they're a death threat, a rape threat, like a slur. It's very, you know what that antagonist is kind of doing. But a lot of times these experiences can be very challenging in the way that they confuse you. And you sort of had to take a moment to be like, what you might ask yourself, like, what did I do? Like to provoke a person like this? What is this person trying to say to me? And so there's just this whole kind of there's a lot of labor that I think goes into the experience, like cognitive sort of like brain work, um, that kind of gets missed when we talk about this issue because we just assume that it is always kind of the most egregious thing. And sometimes it's a much sort of subtler, quieter, more chilling statement like this, which is a reader who basically emailed me to tell me that he did not believed that I was a person and that I did not, belong in kind of the human community. And so, yeah, it's long, grammatically incorrect, and I hope that people will stumble on it long enough to, kind of open up, right, open up the book and see kind of what it's about.
Well, I think you'll appreciate it. I'm filling in for the original host of the morning show here for Cowboy State Daily. And one of the things I've been doing and using my platform for was all the journalists and the reporters and the columnists that have come on the show. I want people to know that they're real people, that they're humans. And so I ask them about their everyday life. What do they like to do? What are they doing this weekend outside of work? What's your life all about? Because I think that really is important. And like you mentioned, that person didn't think you were a real person. And I think that's the misconception a lot of people have with online journalists or people who are technically behind a computer. And then also people who write these comments, there's no repercussions really with
Yes,
online
absolutely.
harassment. People can just get
Yes,
on there and type it, and there's no like if
that's
you're
right.
if you're face to face and I say something to you, chances are I'm going to word it a lot differently, probably not be
Yes,
as aggressive or mean or whatever because I'm looking at you. I see you. There's repercussions
yes.
to my actions. None of that on the keyboard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that you said it so well. I mean, the sort of I think the sort of barrier to becoming a threat to someone has been lowered so much. There was just a study that came out from the National Organization for Women that found 1 in 4 women had been abused online, and there was no recourse. Like that was like the second part, right? Like the headline is like 1 in 4 women, but I think the more important part, like to your point, is that there is often no recourse. And I think there's so many reasons for that. I think part of it is because there does feel like there is this kind of cultural mandate. Sometimes it's explicit, I think implicit, but that in order to operate on these online spaces, in order to be online, you have to ignore these things. And if you're not ignoring them, then you're not doing it. And that's just absurd. That's absurd because I think, inherent in your question, or in like, embedded in your question, is this notion of like humanity, right? Like in the dehumanization that kind of happens in these spaces. But I think that like that whole sort of attitude of you should just be able to ignore this, like it doesn't align with what we know about what it means to be a human being, right? Like humans are not meant to ignore language. Humans are not meant to ignore threats. We're not meant to ignore malice or exclusion. We are built to respond to all of those things. Because if we don't respond to those things and take those things seriously, we can't keep our bodies alive. Like we can't stay alive. And that's our most important job. So I think that like such a huge piece of my reporting and this book and the work and what I hope people take away from it is that these experiences are not meant to be ignored. And if you are not ignoring them, if you were impacted by them, like you are doing exactly what you were sort of built to do.
Right. And again, the book is To Those Who Have Confused You to Be a Person, which I think is what you just talked about there.
Yeah.
Words as Violence and Stories of Women's Resistance Online. I do want to talk about something because I think most of the time when somebody thinks about, especially women online being harassed and especially journalists and on and so forth, I think a lot of times people or myself instantly think it's a male that's doing that. And
Yeah.
I think there's, I really want to put that aside because it's everybody and women are experiencing women on women online hate and harassment maybe even more so than from males. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up. I think it's such a fair point. I mean, obviously my book was I'm concerned with experiences that women are having in these spaces in large part because I am a woman and that was the experience that I was having. And so it was the experience that I felt like I could speak to with the most kind of intimacy and sort of authority. And in many ways it does disproportionately impact women. But to your point, I mean, anybody who has an online life, anybody who is in online spaces, like has probably either experienced malice or or witnessed it and the sort of toxicity, right? So online abuse in some ways is a problem that sort of spans the ideological and political spectrum, and there's so many reasons for this, like politics, money, outrage, norms of behavior online, which you sort of brought up. um so yeah, I think that one of the things that was very important to me in the reporting of this book to stress is that anybody can become an antagonist, like under the right conditions, right? Like you feel enough moral outrage about something
Mm-hmm.
and you can find yourself absolutely, right? Like adopting some of these kind of really sort of dangerous kind of practices. And to your point of like women sort of abusing other women in these spaces, I have a whole chapter on that. Like the intra-community harassment, the harassment that happens in the communities can actually be the most devastating and sort of difficult to cope with because especially as women, a lot of us are sort of socialized to like view men in many contexts as capable of violence, right? Like there's we are brought up, we're socialized like around that sort of idea to and how to protect ourselves in some ways. But there is something very shocking, something very surprising, something very painful and really kind of devastating when you're abused by someone who shares some part of your identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that in many ways those experiences of kind of intra-community harassment can be among the most difficult to cope with.
Yeah, and I assumed you probably addressed that in your book and just your background, working for USA Today and now at the university. You're at in New York?
NYU, yeah,
NY,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'm
okay.
I'm basically my job right now is to get people to know about this book. That's
Yeah,
my
that's
full time. That's why I was like so stunned by your. I felt like I was like so taken aback by that very like simple initial question. It's like, what am I doing right now? And I was like, I'm just talking about this book and trying to get people to pay attention to this idea because I do think that one of the biggest problems is people sort of believing that this is inevitable, that this is just the way it is, that this is
mhm.
just how the internet's going to be. And I just so fundamentally disagree with that. Like, we can do this differently.
Yeah, I really hope that folks follow you, get your book, and really understand the concept of it and the fact that the online world is getting crazier and crazier. And it doesn't have to be this way. Like Aaliyah said, it doesn't have to be a place of anger and hate sometimes. And I just try to encourage folks not to get into heated discussions or discussions online in general and to have those discussions in person if possible because like we talked about earlier, you just change your tone, you just change everything when you talk to people in person or in a different space other than online. So I really hope that the journalists too that are out there, and I'm talking to the Cowboy State Daily journalists, get this book too because there's help in there. There's advice from Aaliyah who's been through this and other women's stories and ways that you can kind of combat and deal with some of these things because it's not tough being a journalist. It's not tough writing stories and being at the whim of humanity, as you know. I mean, thousands and thousands of people read your stories, and how do you make all of them happy?
Yeah, for sure. And I think to your point, like specifically for journalists, I mean, we don't have the sort of luxury, if you want to call it that, of not paying attention to what people think and feel and say. Like our obligation, our duty, our job is to listen to our communities. And so when the abuse gets mixed in with very legitimate feedback, right? Like legitimate criticism, like we don't always get it right, you have to listen to that. So you can't screen it all out. So you absolutely have to have ways of coping. You have to have mitigations because, particularly in that profession, there's just you can't get you can't tune it all out. Wouldn't be doing your job if you tuned it all out.
This seems like a really interesting read too for anybody, not just journalists too, but just kind of being able to uh, read these stories from other folks. And I just feel like so many people can associate online harassment or online fights, online issues to more than just the journalists themselves. So I think this would
Yeah.
really be a great book for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that this book would speak to anybody who's had an experience online of harassment, abuse, hate, violence, or who has watched people that they care about have these experiences, or even aside from that, anybody who cares how the internet is sort of upending life and sort of
Mhm.
reshaping how we speak to one another. You know, you mentioned, that sometimes you advise people to kind of talk in person versus like in these online spaces. And it's also interesting because it didn't make it into the book, but I did an interview with somebody who was kind of like, she was sort of saying, I feel like some of the discourse that I see online is now coming offline. Like it's coming offline into like the town council meeting, right? Like into the school board meeting, that kind of thing. You start to see. So I think it behooves all of us to pay close attention to these issues and to the way that it is affecting how we communicate, how we speak, how we debate, how we uh, you know conduct elections, everything. I mean, it affects all of those things, and it's not going it isn't an online problem, and it isn't going to ever remain an online problem. So yes, I mean, I think if you've had an experience of abuse, this book is going to speak most directly to you. If you care about somebody who has, and you want to know a better way to respond, right, instead of saying just grow thicker skin or ignore it, or screw the haters or whatever it is, like if you want a better way of being supportive, I think the book is for you, and I think it's for anybody who cares about this country, our culture, how we speak to each other, and our sort of precious humanity.
It's definitely changing, and Ali, I think that was just so beautifully said, and I hope people were listening because you're right. It's really just life right now. So it's like, how do we make sure that we're trying to curb that a little bit because the online thing is not going away, and
No.
it does affect everything we do in our day to day lives. It affects our children. I know that I'm sure is a passion for you having kids and just looking at the online world itself and how it's kind of molding and shaping and how it is affecting us in our day to day lives. And so, what's the next step for you on this? You're pushing the book right now, you're at the university. Are you going to do some speaking engagements? Are there some chances for
Yeah,
folks to
yeah.
chat with
I
you?
really just I'd love to. I mean, I just want to talk to people who've had. I really want. I hope that people will engage with the project and engage with the book and read the book and come and kind of share their thoughts with me. I mean, I'm really excited to sort of just be engaged with the public on this. Sometimes writing and reporting can be sort of a. It's kind of an isolating, sort of very lonely process.
Hmm.
Like um you yeah, you sort of I've been so inside my thoughts and my own kind of experience, and certainly I did the reporting, and I spoke to all these other people, but it's still a very contained kind of thing. And so what's exciting and sort of I guess a little nerve-wracking too, but mostly exciting, is just to be able to have people now touch and interact and experience and be in conversation with this thing that you've been working on for 6 years. So right now I'm just trying to get the word out and really looking forward to being in conversation with folks who read the work and appreciate it, or who want to tell me all the complexities that sort of escaped me. So it's really just trying to yeah, be in conversation with the reading public.
Is there a way for people to reach out to you or talk to you about the
Yeah,
book or about this
definitely. I mean,
concept?
you can go to my website, which is my name, aliadastagear.com, and you can send me a message there. I'm also on Blue Sky. I guess I am on X, but I don't for a bunch of reasons like to spend a lot of time there. But the best way is probably just to come to my website and shoot me a note, and I'd be very happy to hear from you.
Well, I'm glad you're in the mental health space too. I think that's an important topic, which is very broad right now, but it needs a lot of help from folks like yourself. So it's been great having you on the show this morning. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you,
It was great to
Alia. We'll chat again and find out how things are going and progressing for you. Okay.
sounds good. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you. Bye bye. Aliyah Dostagir there. She's got a great book that she followed or told the stories of some women in the journalism area. But really, it's something that I think transcends everybody with just the online movement and how things, oh man, my grandma, she loved computers. She was really smart, but she was definitely a person who also didn't quite grasp um, the online world and how it's changing. So that sounds like that would be a really great book. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. Thanks for being here.
Want to stay in touch with what's happening around Wyoming? I'm Wendy Core, host of the Cowboy State Daily video newscast. From Mountain View to Upton, from Jackson to Cheyenne, our reporters are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. Every day, I talk to the talented journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, I bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily video news every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
In today's digital world, it's hard to know who to trust. Your local TV and radio stations bring you the facts. Misinformation and deep fakes flood social media, but broadcasters deliver verified and accurate news. For news, emergency updates, sports, and entertainment, turn to your local stations. Text TV to 52886 and urge Congress to support the vital local journalism broadcasters provide.
I don't think many kids in my son's school even do it.
He makes fun of his friend who vapes.
He would never try it.
She's into soccer.
She's on the honor roll.
She's just not the type.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way, my kid would never vape.
Get your head out of the cloud. Today, nearly 8,000 kids will start vaping, maybe even yours. Learn about the dangers at talkaboutvaping.org.
Breathe. Love what you do and you've already won, my parents used to say. My parents whose smiles were my first finish line, who championed respect, whose resilience built mine. Even more than I wanted a gold medal, I wanted a heart of gold, like the mentors who were my balance beams, refusing to let me down, and the coaches who spoke out to anything out of bounds, heroes who never stood on podiums, but stood up for me. Every shot I made, give the assist to those who since my youth were referees, ready to blow the whistle and end abuse.
Well, folks, it's whiteout conditions pretty much at my place right now. It was just lightly snowing. I mentioned earlier we had a nice good dusting on the ground this morning, and now it is coming down. I'm in central Wyoming, checking that WYDOT 511 app here and seeing some of the conditions around the state. Yeah, definitely a lot of orange rolling around. Shoshone to Casper, Casper to Wheatland. Let's see what I-80 is doing here. I-80 looks green. That's weird. From Rollins, though, to Wamsutter, they had a wreck on that overnight, though. It looks like that's opened back up, but things are a little dicey. Like I mentioned, we have quite a bit of snow falling right now. Actually, a lot more than I expected, so I should have been paying more attention to Don Day this morning. I think he mentioned this would happen, and actually the last few days. Hey, it looks like I'm back in the good graces of my friend Joshua Corsi, Muley Fanatic Foundation. Josh is like the king of dad jokes, and so there's a group of us that receive a dad joke from Josh almost every morning. I haven't received one for a while, but I found out that Josh got a new iPhone. He's been an Android guy forever, and he finally came over to the dark side. Yes, us iPhoners. And I'm excited because I can tell when he's texting me back and stuff. Not that that matters. But anyways, he went over through the transition of getting a new phone, so there was no dad jokes. I thought I did something wrong and I was ousted from the dad joke group, but it's back. Are you ready for this morning's dad joke? Compliments of my friend Joshua Corsi, Muley Fanatic Foundation. What happens when a microscope crashes into a telescope? What happens when a microscope crashes into a telescope? They kaleidoscope. Well done. They kaleidoscope. So, speaking of the Muley Fanatic Foundation, this weekend they have that Echoes of the Tracks event that is actually tomorrow night. That is in Laramie at the Gateway there. They have some really cool things. And it's definitely not the average conservation event. It's a little different. And in the fact that they have the Monteith shop who's putting it on, and they're phenomenal. Kevin Monteith and Rebecca Rafferty, who's the MFF fellow. Monteith Shop does a lot of stuff, not just work with mule deer, folks. They'll be telling stories, and it really reminds me of some of those. For my fly fishing friends, you like to go to F3T or the fly fishing film tour. And then also for hunters, they have, the bow videos, the bow events, the hunting events like that too, where they're showing some great videos. Well, this is like that, but with stories. So imagine being kind of around a campfire. I imagine they might have some pictures as well, but it's a fundraising event where you get a chance to really get to know some of these field scientists that are working hard in Wyoming in so many different ways, not just with ungulates, but they're working on so many different projects and ways to help protect Wyoming and our wildlife and our habitat. So the Echoes of the Tracks event with the Muley Fanatic Foundation is tomorrow night in Laramie. Shout out to all my Laramie friends. Mark Hines with Cowboy State Daily. I'll have to mention to him about this event if he doesn't already know about it. So I think they still have a few tickets available, but they might not. So if you missed out, this will be a return event every year that they will have in Laramie around this time. Echoes of the Tracks event. And then I think the Muley Fanatic Foundation is heading to the Mile High Hunt and Fish Expo, which has really grown some great popularity. That, of course, is in Denver. I think it's at the Gaylord, which is where most of those are, and that's coming up as well. So the Muley Fanatic Foundation will have more on that. And you can follow them on socials. But thank you so much, Josh, for the dad joke if you missed it. What happens when a microscope crashes into a telescope? They kaleidoscope. So I like that one. Thank you so much for listening this morning, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. We have some great guests this morning. Of course, we'll have Don Day on. Trying to get my friend Nate back on with the Friends of the NRA. He's been really busy this week. We had him on last week, but his mic was dodgy. His mic wasn't working really that well. So I'm hoping to get him back on. And then Andrew Rossi, the Dino Dude with Cowboy State Daily. Andrew is so much fun and extremely smart. So I'm going to get him on. And then I think Mr. Bill Sniffen will be joining me. Helen Wilson with the Wind River Visitors Council. It'll be so great to hear from Helen. And she's got her pulse on tourism and our visitors. And we love, love, love our visitors here in Wyoming. They come here, they spend money, they support our businesses, and then they go back to wherever they live, and they tell their other friends, who then in turn come here and spend their money and support our local economy. A lot of areas do rely on our visitors who come through. And so Helen does such an amazing job. Really excited about that. And then I'm fangirling out, but Wendy Core should be joining the show this morning too. She, of course, does the news. But since she started, I've been watching her face on Cowboy State Daily and hearing her radio program on my radio show. So I really just enjoy Wendy in general. So hopefully get a chance to chat with her. And that'll be the first time I've had a chance to chat with her on the show because I was gone last week and John Beggs filled in, and he'll have his show tomorrow morning. And he's got a really cool guest in the 6 o'clock hour. And you can watch that later on too on the YouTube Live, on Facebook as well. Leo Wolfson should be back in action. Leo's always busy, so we'll maybe catch him on the road, or maybe he's still in Cheyenne. But we talked a little bit about what he's got going on. And so some great guests. And if you've got something going on, reach out. Let us know if there's something happening in your neck of the woods. I know some adverse conditions in most areas of Wyoming. I can now finally see the cameras too. I love checking the YDOT 511 cameras, but in the morning it's a little difficult when I'm up at 4:45 to actually see anything. But let's see South Pass. I was supposed to go to South Pass. Oh my goodness. Woo! I'm glad they canceled. I think they're canceling anyways. They reached out and said, "Do you mind if we reschedule?" I'm like, yeah, I can't even see the upper Red Canyon. Boy, they're dealing with some foggy conditions. How foggy? So foggy the birds are walking. Ba-bum. So yeah, some of the conditions there definitely a little dodgy. Wow, Jeffrey City looks like really sketchy in some areas and then clear in some spots. But boy, we've got some slick roads out there, folks. If you're traveling or you've got some adverse conditions, you can always reach out to Cowboy State Daily and let them know too. They do a lot of weather posts as well. Shirley Rim doesn't look too bad. Old Shirley Rim. I'm surprised about that. But 220 looks really icy. And that's, 220 right out of Casper there. Let's see where Alcova for my fishing friends. Woo! Take the boat out today, folks. Don't take the boat out today. Oh, wow. So, yeah, I'm just checking the cameras on the Y.511 511 app. I love doing this. I kind of nerd out. I'm also one of those people that loves to watch the weather in the morning. Let's see. Where's this at? Let's see what Elk Mountain looks like. Where am I? Oh, there we go. Go back this way. There we are. Arlington, Elk Mountain. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. That's actually looks a lot better than most other areas I've been looking at. So yeah, Arlington not bad. I saw I-80 had green on the map, on the conditions map, which everywhere else is yellow or orange. So if you're traveling I-80 today, doesn't look like too bad of a day, but other areas, let's check 25 real quick, right above Chugwater. They're dealing with some fog like they were. It looks like they could definitely have some slick conditions, though, that you just don't even know that creep up on you there. Let's check up above Wheatland. Dwyer Junction looks a little sketchy there. So, hey, I know that some folks may not have some snow falling. We've got, I mean, they're thick flakes. I did not expect this morning when I woke up. I woke up and there was just a light dusting. As a matter of fact, all the feral cats, get this. I opened the door this morning, whoosh, there's a little bit of snow. Like I said, it was just lightly snowing. And here come all the feral cats trying to get in the door, which I don't know why, because they never come inside, but they were hungry too. So they come to the door. And my inside cat, who is also an outside cat whenever she wants to be, meows around. Meow, let me out. So I open the door and boot her out. All of a sudden, the whoosh of snow comes back in and she all freaks out. And I close the door. I'm like, you want it outside. You stay out there with the feral cats. If they have to be outside, you can be outside too and be just fine. But it was funny. The feral cats were like, let me in. And she was like, let me out. And then as soon as she got out, she was not happy. But she actually enjoys being outside. She's kind of more of an outdoor cat than an indoor cat when the weather's nice. But when the weather's not nice, you'll find her indoors, cuddled up by the fire most of the time. But experiencing some adverse conditions in some areas this morning, please be careful. I always say 2 hands on the wheel, 2 eyes on the road. Distracted driving is a big issue every single day. I think so many of us do it and think it's okay, but in a split of a second, things can change. So check those conditions if you are on the road or hitting the road a little bit later and see how things shake up. I never looked north of. Up towards Thermop and Cody over here on the Y.511 511 app. But I might have to head that way some point. So Kirby doesn't look too bad. It does look like there's some slick conditions, though, at Kirby Junction. Thermopolis and the canyon looks really foggy. So, yeah, if you've got to be on the road, I mentioned earlier, I think my trip to South Pass is getting rescheduled, which I hope so. I'm crossing my fingers that happens. And then I was also may have to head through the canyon. So I always like to check the conditions, Wyoming 511. And of course, Don Day and the Day Weather podcast, always phenomenal and a great resource. Don knows weather in and out. He tracks weather constantly. And so if there is an area that will be dealing with some adverse conditions, he'll know about it and he'll let you know in the Day Weather podcast and the Day Weather forecast that we have here with Cowboy State Daily. It's Friday. Are you excited for the weekend? What do you have planned? March Madness tomorrow night, the Final Four. Maybe you're heading to the Echoes of the Tracks event in Laramie, or you have something with the kids, or some folks are heading back from spring break this weekend. I'll be watching some weather conditions for folks that I know that are traveling. Some are traveling down to Colorado. I know a couple folks actually that are going for opening day in Denver, and it's like low 40s and snow for that that area. That is not when I want to be at a baseball game. Football all day long, but not baseball. So they're heading on the road down to Colorado. But some folks are coming back from spring break to certain areas of Wyoming, hoping they drive safe and just checking the conditions before know before you go. That's what they say. And good Friday morning. Hey, I'm Shireen filling in for Jake.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, April 4th. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Kaur. In 2024, the Wyoming Secretary of State's office referred 16 separate election complaints to Wyoming Attorney General Bridget Hill's office for prosecution. But according to results of public records requests provided to politics reporter Leo Wolfson, none of them have been prosecuted. Secretary of State Chuck Gray told Cowboy State Daily that not only has Hill taken no action on any of the complaints, she's also failed to keep him apprised of the status of any of the cases.
The amount of complaints has drastically increased during Secretary of State Chuck Gray's administration. Spoke to Kai Schoen, the former elections director for Wyoming, who preceded Gray's administration, and he said they would typically forward about 5 to 6 complaints on average. Gray has really brought a hardline approach to election reform, believing that the state has many vulnerabilities that need to be closed up, despite there being an extremely low amount of fraud documented in the state.
Hill confirmed to Cowboy State Daily that no charges have been filed in any of these cases, but her office is still actively investigating 8 of them, while also recognizing some of the cases are related to the same topic. Wyoming residents pay less than most Americans for electricity. That's what a Wednesday report from the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, shows. It declares that Wyoming is home to the lowest power bills in the United States. And the ALEC report is just one of many sources that shows Wyomingites pay less for electricity. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that energy affordability is a topic popular enough to qualify as clickbait on the internet.
One consistent thing in all these different reports is that Wyoming has low per kilowatt rates. And so one report found that we're paying 8.24 cents per kilowatt hour. Another had it around 11 cents. Either way, that's really low based on comparisons to places like Hawaii, where it's 30 and 40 cents per kilowatt hour.
The CashNet USA report found Wyoming households spend around $1,500 on electricity each year. That's $439 less than the national average. Mexican authorities announced last week they're deporting a convicted LSD and marijuana dealer from Wyoming who'd been hiding out in a small town. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that 25-year-old Gabriel Rogers was convicted in April 2019 for possessing stolen firearms and conspiring to distribute LSD and marijuana, and was hiding in the Mexican town after evading his U.S.-imposed supervised release.
He was sentenced in early 2019 from 2018 charges where the court documents describe just this rollicking case, like 30-some guns stolen from a pawn shop in Gillette. But then Rogers did his time, and then they said, okay, after this, you need to do 3 years of supervised release. So report to your probation officer when you get out of jail. He gets out in Nebraska, and he does not report. That's December 2022. He vanishes. Next we hear of him, the Mexican media is reporting that an American man was caught in a Mexican town relating to original charges of drug trafficking.
Rogers showed recent addresses in Sundance, Wyoming, and in Rapid City, South Dakota before his 2018 arrest. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous and 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Well, 2 wind farm projects in eastern Wyoming got a green light before the State Board of Land Commissioners on Thursday, but not before tempers flared yet again between Governor Mark Gordon and Secretary of State Chuck Gray. Gordon and Gray were on opposing sides when it came to approving the 2 separate wind farm projects that would lease state land in Converse and Niobrara counties over the course of a 40-year term. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that both wind projects were approved by the board on 4-1 votes, with Gray the only member to vote against both. both.
Gray basically believes that wind energy is a hoax and predicated on government subsidies, while Governor Mark Gordon has consistently espoused an all-of-the-above energy policy, and he believes that these very large wind farms could have a strong benefit for Converse and Niobrara counties where they will be built.
An executive session was held for about 30 minutes to discuss the issue, where Gray said the board was assured by their legal counsel there were no vulnerabilities in it, but that was a conclusion he disagreed with. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
I'm Amy Grant, and I want to talk to you from my heart about the heart. There was nothing about my life that said, you have a ticking time bomb in your chest. But I did. I wound up in the office of a cardiologist because I was there with my husband. And at the tail end of that, the cardiologist looked at me and said, I want to see you. No one was more surprised than I was to learn I was living with a rare heart condition. He said, Amy, this condition, you'll be fine, and then catastrophic. A few months later, I had open heart surgery that saved my life. And I owe it to the research and life-saving medical breakthroughs developed by the American Heart Association. I'm grateful for the American Heart Association. Their research gave me more time to do the things I love with the people I love. So listen to your heart. I'm here today because I did. Learn more at helpheart.org.
Glad to be back on this snowy Friday. Good morning. Yes, is it snowing in your neck of the woods? Yeah, it's coming down pretty good where I'm at. Thick flakes too. And today's high where I'm at will be in the mid to upper 30s when I woke up this morning. We're at about 28 now. We're down to 26 at my place, it looks like. So a little bit cooler this morning. And yeah, a lot of areas across Wyoming dealing with some slick conditions on the roads, potentially some snow as well. And we'll chat with Don Day coming up here in about 15 minutes. Thanks for listening to the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen, filling in for Jake. Easter right around the corner. Are you ready for Easter? Yeah, I was talking about Easter egg alternatives for dying, because who wants to die golden eggs? Because that's basically what they are with the price of them, right? A lot of folks opt for the plastic eggs, but I thought that the marshmallows, that was an interesting alternative for dyeing Easter eggs. So you'll use food coloring, food safe, edible dye, and then you can dye the marshmallow just like you do the egg, or you can take a little cotton ball and put some dye on it or whatever, and then make a design or make a little tie-dye marshmallow. And then you could also dip that in some sugar, potentially, and make your own Easter peep. Just an idea, but I thought that was a good alternative when it comes to the Easter egg dyeing, because people don't want to dye the actual Easter eggs because of the price of them, and I understand completely. The other alternative was a potato, and I thought that's something we would have done because we were so poor, I feel like. Especially with the price of eggs right now. Luckily, they weren't that expensive when I was a kid, but potatoes. I guess you peel the potato and it does a good dye. It takes that, it's really porous, so it does make sense. It'll soak up that dye and keep it there. And so you can have your kids dye potatoes. So very Idaho of you to do if that's something you choose for Easter. But those were some Easter egg alternatives. Easter right around the corner. I've got to get one more little Easter present, but I do have one that's cute. It's a little bunny and it moves and it poops jelly beans. I thought that was adorable. My grandma always loved Peeps. We didn't get a lot of presents for Easter because my grandma couldn't afford to, but she did love Peeps and I did not at all. So she would always buy Peeps and she knew that I would never eat them. So that's probably why she bought the Peeps, right? Easter around the corner. It is on 4/20. I've seen a lot of funny memes on the National Snoop Dogg Day and him dressed as an Easter bunny. But yeah, it should be hopefully a good weekend weather-wise, but I'll have to ask Dawn. Obviously, we're a ways away from Easter still. And with Wyoming, I mean, you can look at the trends or look at what could potentially be the forecast. But as Dawn has said, wait 5 minutes or drive 5 miles, basically, and things change. And so as we get closer to Easter, I of course will be interested how those the weather will shake up. But just like Mother's Day and just like Memorial Day, how many of us have been Easter egg hunting in the snow? I've been there in the rain. I've been there in the wind every year. So we're used to having some different conditions for Easter. If we get a great, nice day, more power uh, to the weather there, but we're used to having some adverse conditions when it comes to Easter. But it is around the corner. Folks are making their plans, making their Easter egg hunts, and Cowboy State Daily will keep you in the know on any cool Easter or excellent stories that you need to know. Thanks for listening to the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake. Let's get that rodeo report.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Will Rasmussen. Another conversation today with two-time and reigning world champion Riley Webb from Denton, Texas, only 21 years old, former Resistol Rookie of the Year. We talk about his significant other, Josie Connor, who is a National Finals Rodeo breakaway roper. That conversation on the Roadshow coming up next.
Ranchers, Wednesday, April 9th is the 51st annual Pass Creek Angus Ranch Production Sale at the ranch just south of Wyola, Montana. This year selling 80 yearling and 27 fall Angus bulls out of sires like Vermilion Bomber and GAR Hometown. 7 stout 2-year-old bulls and 25 open commercial heifers also sell. Pass Creek breeds low-maintenance cattle that muscle up with quality carcasses. View videos at BillPelton.com. Sale time is 1 o'clock, also carried live on Frontier Live Sale. For more information, visit PassCreekAngus.com.
The American Lamb Board wants 2025 to be the best year yet for education. Lamb Checkoff funded programs include workshops and summits aimed at equipping sheep producers with the necessary tools and resources to profitably grow their operations. Like the American Lamb Summit, July 22nd through 25th, University of Idaho in Moscow. Event highlights include defining lamb quality and hitting carcass targets and increasing production efficiency. Learn more and register at lambboard.com.
Talk about not only are you a star, but your significant other has gone to a national finals rodeo or two in the breakaway roping. Talk about Josie Connor.
Yes, sir. My girlfriend, Josie Connor, she's been kicking butt for a while now. We got to our rookie year was the same year. We both won the Rookie of the Year, and we made the NFR the last couple of years. So that's been really cool. But we got the same goal to win the World Championships, and I think you'll be seeing hers here pretty quick and in the future. We get the rope every day and work at it together, and we got the same goals. So that's really cool.
That is really cool. Riley Webb, the two-time world champion, his girlfriend Josie Connor from Iowa, Louisiana, has been to the last 3 national finals rodeos in the breakaway roping. Last year, she finished number 3 in the world, and that's exactly where she sits in 2025 in search of her first gold buckle. Our thanks to Riley Webb, 3-time national finalist, 2-time and reigning world champion, for being on the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake on this Friday. Yeah, it always, on my morning show, I always do It's Finally Friday by George Jones, a.k.a. The Possum, and then a little Chug-a-Lug by Roger Miller. So we do that montage. I've done that for years when I was up in Montana, too. I got that from my old morning show partner and did it ever since. Glad to be here. I'm also glad that I might not have to take a road trip today. It looks a little dicey out there, especially in the area that we were heading, which was South Pass, and that's always a little questionable, even in the greatest of days, it seems like. A story that's from my neck of the woods is about a grenade or grenades that were found in Riverton, 4 hand grenades found by a teen on Wednesday were reported to the Riverton Police Department as being live, and some military veterans in Wyoming said they could be live in a diminished sense, but that they look like training grenades. But a 15-year-old boy found them down by the river, took them to his grandma's house. Grandma was probably a little scared, shocked, and his mom as well. I guess they did call in the bomb squad just in case, and especially to be safe. But it sounds like they were just training grenades. So again, kind of scary for a young boy. And bringing those home, how would you? If that were my kid or grandkid, I'd be like, put those way far away and walk away slowly, just to be extra safe. But good job by the Riverton Police Department, the Natrona County Bomb Squad, who also arrived and helped out. I have a story about grenades in Riverton in a roundabout way. I don't know if it was 2 Christmases ago or 3, but I was flying out of the Riverton airport, and this is before the Central Wyoming Airport got some of the better scanning technology. So it was old school technology, or old school anyways. So they basically check everything when you used to fly through the Riverton Airport, Central Wyoming Airport, regional airport. And it was a couple Christmases ago. And it was just after Christmas, I should say, or maybe it was right before. Anyways, obviously a lot of folks had been visiting for Christmas, or, were leaving for Christmas, one or the other. Well, a family had spent time with their family here in Central Wyoming for Christmas and were heading home. I had gone through TSA and I grabbed my bags, and it's a really small, tight squeeze, especially back before they got they rearranged and got some of the new technology in there. And so you'd go through, and if you were grabbing your bag, you would do it right there. And if they were checking any bags, it's like they were concerned, they were right next to you. Well, I guess they were concerned about this family's carry-on. And so they opened the carry-on, and I kid you not, of course, my back is kind of turned. One of the TSA people says, "Those are grenades." I'm like, I dropped to the ground, like that would save me. But I dropped to the ground with my bag. I'm like, what in the world? And I look over, and I kid you not, the guy said, "Those are grenades." I mean, like, holy cow. They were a Christmas present for the young boy who was probably 7 years old. And it had like a fake army knife and a couple of grenades and a couple other army style things. And they were kids' toys. And the guy said, "Those are grenades." And I'll never forget it. I remember like dropping down, grabbing my bag. Of course, none of that would have helped me if they were actual live grenades and the thing had been pulled or something. But no, it was just kids' Christmas presents. So that is my grenade story for this morning. And yeah, I did actually have that experience. But the story about the 4 grenades that the teen found in Riverton is online, cowboystatedaily.com. And they were able to talk to some Wyoming veterans to kind of ask about them and, see what their thoughts were. Although they said they could be live in a diminished sense, they looked like training grenades. So good morning. There you go. That's my Friday story. Are you here for it? Thank you for tuning in. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen, filling in for Jake.
From Yellowstone to Devil's Tower, the Bighorn Mountains to the Teton Range, Cheyenne to Sheridan, Rawlins to Ralston, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show covers the state like no other radio show or podcast. We love Lovell. We're eager to share the stories of Story, Will Crow About Crowheart, and Yodel Over Yoder. Whether you make your home in Sweetwater, Chugwater, Powder River, or Green River, the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show will make you feel right at home. Jeffrey City, Atlantic City, we see you. Little America, Big Piney, you're on our radar. Howdy, Wapiti, Meeteetse, Shoshone, Ten Sleep, good morning, welcome, Torrington, Riverton, Wheatland, Lusk, Lingle, Lander, Timber, Casey, Kerwin, Moorcroft, Mountain View, Moose, Fort Bridger, Fort Laramie, Fort Washington, Hannah, Hudson, Hewlett, Dayton, Daniel, and DuBois. We are east of Weston, west of Midwest, north of Newcastle, and south of Sundance. Border to border, we love Wyoming and every one of its communities, bar none.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
When you
Hear the words nonprofit organization. What comes to mind? Is it a place your dog called home before finding you? Is it an organization that supports accessibility? Is it a place that ensures your safety and that of those you love? That protects endangered wildlife and habitats or fights for our most basic needs? It's impossible to show all the ways nonprofit organizations make a difference in our world. One animal, one person, one cause at a time, but it's not impossible to be part of it. When you give what you have to a nonprofit organization that needs what you can give, you help promote, protect, and strengthen the reach of these incredible organizations. The Nonprofit Alliance is here, helping connect people like you to the nonprofits that enrich your life, your community, and the world we share. Reach out to a nonprofit organization that inspires you today to find how you can help make the world a better place.
The challenges our planet's animals are facing sometimes feel a bit heavy.
The animals haven't eaten in a day, 2 days, they haven't drank anything, they're cold, they're dehydrated.
As soon as we started our descent, everywhere I could see was mud, just absolutely mud.
The country has been in prolonged drought for so long, it was like a tinderbox waiting to go up.
Okay, very heavy. Each of us wants to be part of the solution, and we can be. Remember that there's good happening right now. At home.
All right, we were able to get into your unit, and we have all 4 of your cats. So,
okay.
And around the world. For any animal in any disaster. So let's focus on that, right? Be part of the solution, one rescue at a time. Search ifa.org/disaster ready.
It's Friday. Good morning. I'm Shireen, filling in for Jake, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. This is my last day. I thank you for being here with me, tuning in. If you are just tuning in, I've been filling in for Jake, who is on a much needed and deserved break, and hopefully he enjoyed, and he'll tell us all about it on Monday morning as we tune in to cowboystatedaily.com. Make sure you subscribe to that newsletter. You can also find out how you can follow your favorite journalists and your favorite stories, and you can kind of curate stuff for what you like to see with Cowboy State Daily. So I like their newsletter. They do a lot of cool stuff on there. They have a montage too. They'll make sure you know about John Beggs and his Saturday morning show tomorrow. And John has some really cool guests lined up. And he'll have a coach from Sheridan, who is they have one of the longest streaks in the country as far as winning goes. I think they've won 4 championships in a row. I can't remember what John said. But anyways, his Saturday morning show will be a potpourri of things, from entertainment to sports to outdoors, to politics, to, I mean, you name it. And so if you have something that you want John to talk about, make sure that you let him know. So John will be on that show on tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. And he has his son, who is overseas, who will be on the show with him. So pretty exciting there. That will be every Saturday morning now with Cowboy State Daily. You'll be able to, you'll be in the know when it comes to, what's happening, how things are shaking up, what's John doing. And he's got a cool cabin too as well. So with that, he'll be talking a lot about taking trips to his cabin as soon as he can get there. Of course, there's a lot of snow right now. John's cabin is up in the Sheridan area, and so they deal with a lot of snow in that area. So he mentioned that he'll keep us in the know on his Saturday morning show. And again, like I mentioned, Jake will be back on Monday, so he'll have a ton of stories from his break, and he's got a lot of great guests lined up and a lot of folks that he's keeping us in the know with. So look forward to that. Jake will be back on Monday, and I know I'm excited because that's my normal routine, is to see Jake on the show here. So let's head to the Zoom room here momentarily. Oh my gosh, Mr. Donde, how are you this morning?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Sorry, I was a little late getting you on this morning.
That's good. All good.
All good. All good. All right. Well, it's whiteout conditions here. It wasn't that way when I got up about 4:45. I had a light layer, But now, woo, it's coming down here.
Yeah, we've got pockets of snow, and there's been some areas of the state that got a good amount of snow last night. It got a report around Devil's Tower of over 7 inches of snow, but we also have places that didn't get anything. So it's kind of a patchwork of snow across the state overnight and this morning. The front responsible for this is going to be out of here by late this afternoon and tonight. But here through the morning hours, there'll be pockets of snow. It all depends on where you are. If traveling, be ready, because you know what? We're not going to get out of the 30s today. So the roads are going to be wet and slick and icy.
I had a trip up South Pass that I think is getting rescheduled. I'm hoping. Please. I don't want to
Yeah,
drive.
South Pass is a little dicey this morning. Although by this time tomorrow we'll be under sunshine. It's just going to be a chilly day tomorrow. Tomorrow's one of those days where the sun's out. You look out the window and you say, "Hey, it's much nicer." Then you step outside. It's like, "Hey, it's still cold." But by Sunday is going to be much more like spring.
Yeah, and we have that warm trend that Dawn mentioned, and then potentially that cold front moving back in. Dawn, I know it's 16 days away, so over 2 weeks, which in Wyoming, as you know, is really difficult to predict the weather then. But what do you think will shake up for Easter?
I have no idea.
I mean, I know snow Easter days. I remember Easter egg hunts in the snow in just years past, a couple years ago.
Yeah, 16-day forecasts, they're available, but they're worthless, quite honestly, to plan with. So this time of year, I always warn people, the best we can do is 5 days. Really ignore what your phone app says, because honestly, we're really good through 5 days. After that, it's very difficult. So I am not ready to stick my neck out yet for Easter. I will tell you this. There's just as good of a chance it could be 70 and sunny as it could be a foot of snow and 30.
All right. I'll take it. I'll take
How's
it.
that?
I love it. I love it. Give me all of it. And then you're not wrong, right?
There you go.
But like Dawn said, it's really hard to predict that. So basically on the 15th of the month, be making sure you're tuning in to the morning show or the day weather podcast too, if you really need that Easter information. And of course, as it gets closer. But I always tell parents, just make sure the kids have something warm. Easter outfits are cute, but some of them are just not practical for Wyoming.
No, as well as our Halloween costumes.
Yes, as you know, yes, never know on Halloween. Also, never know for Mother's Day and then Memorial Weekend. So it's a crazy next few months, isn't it, for weather?
Well, and it really is, and it's like, for those of you who are Peanuts fans, it's like Lucy in the football when Charlie Brown goes to kick it. You think you've got something really nice coming up for a weekend, whether it's a camping trip later this month or into May, and then she just pulls the football away, and so that's how April and May goes around here.
Well, Dawn Day, it's been great chatting with you. This is my last day filling in for Jake. I've had a ton of fun, and I follow you anyways and appreciate your podcast and your forecast and your hard work because they just don't make them like you guys anymore. I don't know, it's the truth.
Well, it's been fun working with you.
Yeah, thanks, Dawn. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. What a wonderful guy. I love it. I'll see Dawn for the Wyoming Association of Broadcasters. I am on the WAB board, so I help with protecting and governing some of the things for the Association of Broadcasters. They do a lot of stuff in Washington, D.C., so I'll see Dawn Day for the WAB convention, which is in Cody this year. Excited about that, to be back in Cody. Always a great place to visit during the summertime. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake. This is the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, April 4th. I'm Wendy Core, bringing you headlines from the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, brought to you by Wyoming Community Gas. The Choice Gas selection period ends on Wednesday, April 23rd. This is your opportunity to select your natural gas provider for the coming year. For more information, visit wyomingcommunitygas.org. Well, from the moment an on-the-job accident all but ruined Laramie firefighter Dylan Schilt's body, he's been determined to get back the full use of it. The 32-year-old was crushed when a massive stone fireplace chase collapsed on him and another firefighter responding to a house fire at the end of February. He suffered a broken back, a shattered ankle, and collapsed lung, and was left temporarily paralyzed from the waist down. But Schilt told Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines that even while he was covered in rocks, knowing his back was broken, he knew he would walk again.
They determined that his spinal cord was not severed. He did suffer some bruising and scarring on the spinal cord, so it's been rough, but he told me today that he now has feeling in both his legs, and they're working on it. They're getting to the point where he's trying to walk again and learn some balance. He told me he's determined. He wants to go back to doing everything, including being a firefighter.
He's been doing several hours of physical therapy a day, focusing mostly on learning to walk and balance again and strengthening atrophied muscles. Schilt said his accident and recovery have brought him an appreciation for the ties that bind together first responders, as well as good people in general. When 15-year-old Roxton-looking Bill didn't catch any fish Wednesday evening on the Wind River, he started walking back toward his grandmother's house along a little dirt road that passes by a tow yard, and something caught his eye. It was a small toolbox and surprisingly heavy. But Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that when Looking Bill opened the box, he didn't find a set of sockets or tools. He saw 4 hand grenades.
Even though he had brought them home to his grandma's house, they left them out in the yard because they just weren't sure. They did call police, and then there was a huge alarm, and the bomb squad came down from Natrona County and took them. And so just very dramatic, and they had to reassure the neighbors that the grandma was okay. We just found grenades down by the river. After I wrote the story about this, it looked like every single dad in Wyoming was in the comments saying the blue spoon or handle signifies that these are training grenades. Joey Correnti, who was actually an explosives instructor in the Army, was like, you know what? Yes, blue signifies training, but you don't know where these came from. You didn't load or empty them yourself. So still, ultimate caution, call the police.
Correnti said he was glad the Riverton situation ended as calmly as it did, but looking at the rusted box, he suggested the teen might want to get a tetanus shot. 2 wind farm projects in eastern Wyoming got a green light before the State Board of Land Commissioners on Thursday, but not before tempers flared yet again between Governor Mark Gordon and Secretary of State Chuck Gray. Gordon and Gray were on opposing sides when it came to approving the 2 separate wind farm projects that would lease state land in Converse and Niobrara counties over the course of a 40-year term. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that both wind projects were approved by the board on 4-1 votes, with Gray the only member to vote against both.
Gray basically believes that wind energy is a hoax and predicated on government subsidies, while Governor Mark Gordon has consistently espoused an all-of-the-above energy policy, and he believes that these very large wind farms could have a strong benefit for Converse and Niobrara counties where they will be built. The wind farms will be used strictly to support a hydrogen plant that's also going in that region of the state, but they will provide more than 200 jobs when fully completed and will also provide sorely needed economic money, tax revenue for Niobrara County, which is the poorest county in the state.
An executive session was held for around 30 minutes to discuss the issue, where Gray said the board was assured by their legal counsel there were no vulnerabilities in it, a conclusion that he disagreed with. Wyoming residents pay less than most Americans for electricity. That's what a Wednesday report from the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, shows, declaring that Wyoming is home to the lowest power bills in the United States. And the ALEC report is just one of many sources that shows that Wyomingites pay less for electricity than most any other state. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that energy affordability is a topic popular enough to qualify as clickbait on the internet.
No matter your politics, no matter where you stand on energy policy, you're interested in your own electric bill. And maybe that's why we're having all these reports come out that really drill down and show how much we're paying and what the portfolio of energy for each state is. One consistent thing in all these different reports is that Wyoming has low per kilowatt rates. And so one report found that we're paying 8.24 cents per kilowatt hour. Another had it around 11 cents. Either way, that's really low based on comparisons to places places like Hawaii, where it's 30 and 40 cents per kilowatt hour.
The CashNet USA report found Wyoming households spend around $1,500 on electricity each year. That's $439 less than the national average. And now let's take a look at today's weather with Cowboy State Daily meteorologist Don Day.
Wyoming will have to endure some pretty chilly winter-like temperatures and conditions today as an area of low pressure comes across the Rockies. There's going to be scattered snow showers and temperatures will be a good 20 to 25 degrees below average. We're going to see highs in most areas of the state only in the 30s and low 40s today. Scattered snow will be found in the south and parts of the northeast, mainly during the early part of the day and maybe into afternoon. Then skies will clear out tonight, and boy, be ready for a cold night, even though it's April. We're looking at lows tonight down into the teens and lower 20s. The higher valleys in western Wyoming could see single digits. Now, not all bad news. The weather starts to improve Saturday. It's just not going to be very warm Saturday. Most areas warming to the 40s, but it will look and feel more like spring with some sun, some high pressure, and warmer temperatures come Sunday and Monday.
You can get Don's full forecast on the Cowboy State Daily website. I'll be back in just 15 seconds with more news.
We're a company seeking to develop a rare earth element mine outside of Wheatland, Wyoming. Rare earth elements are magnet metals, an important industrial input in everything from your cell phone to an F-35 fighter jet. We're trying to bring a domestic supply online so that our country doesn't have to rely on China. Please visit our website at AmericanRareEarths.com.
Well, in 2024, the Wyoming Secretary of State's office referred 16 separate election complaints to Wyoming Attorney General Bridget Hill's office for prosecution. But according to results of public records requests provided to politics reporter Leo Wolfson, none of them have been prosecuted. Secretary of State Chuck Gray told Cowboy State Daily that not only has Hill taken no action on any of the complaints, she's also failed to keep him apprised on the status of any of the cases.
I reached out to Hill and she said that while that might be true, her office is still actively investigating about half of those cases. The other context that's important to remember is that the amount of complaints has drastically increased during Secretary of State Chuck Gray's administration. Spoke to Kai Schoen, the former elections director for Wyoming, who preceded Gray's administration, and he said they would typically forward about 5 to 6 complaints on average. Gray has really brought a hardline approach to election reform, believing that the state has many vulnerabilities that need to be closed up, despite there being an extremely low amount of fraud documented in the state.
Hill confirmed to Cowboy State Daily that no charges have been filed in any of the cases, but her office is still actively investigating 8 of them, while also recognizing that some of the cases are related to the same topic. Mexican authorities announced last week they're deporting a convicted LSD and marijuana dealer from Wyoming who'd been hiding out in the town of Culiacan. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that 25-year-old Gabriel Rogers was convicted in April of 2019 for possessing stolen firearms and conspiring to distribute LSD and marijuana, and was hiding in the Mexican town after evading his United States-imposed supervised release.
He was sentenced in early 2019 from 2018 charges where the court documents describe just this rollicking case, like 30-some guns stolen from a pawn shop in Gillette. And then the guy caught in the act was like, well, that's because my contact, this friend, was going to sell them in Denver. He's got a good contact there that has already bought 8 or 9 guns from us. And by the way, the contact will kill people for $1,500. And it's a 16-year-old kid. But then Rogers did his time. And then they said, okay, after this, you need to do 3 years of supervised release. So report to your probation officer when you get out of jail. He gets out in Nebraska and he does not report. That's December 2022. He vanishes. Next we hear of him, the Mexican media is reporting that an American man was caught in a Mexican town relating to original charges of drug trafficking, and that the Mexican authorities want to deport him.
Rogers showed recent addresses in Sundance, Wyoming, and in Rapid City, South Dakota before his 2018 arrest. A Hudson man will go to federal prison for at least the next 10 years of his life after pleading guilty Thursday to possessing child pornography. 58-year-old Sean Brennan pleaded guilty to the charge in U.S. District Court in Cheyenne on Thursday. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that this is Brennan's second child porn conviction.
The first event occurred about 20 years ago. Brennan was actually apprehended while video vigilantes were apprehending him for kind of a sting operation, with him attempting to meet up with a minor, a fake minor, basically. Because of that vigilante sting, he was found by federal agents a little bit later to have child pornography in his possession. And that's what we were in attendance for in the courtroom on Thursday. Judge Alan Johnson will sentence him in June for that. But it was kind of interesting. Brennan made the claim on Thursday that despite the crimes that he was found guilty for, he is actually very inept when it comes to technology. Johnson called this out, saying even if that might be true, the technology has gotten you in some very deep trouble.
Brennan has been in custody at the Scottsbluff County Detention Center in Nebraska since his federal arrest. He'll remain there until his sentencing. And once again, Bob the Barrel is on thin ice. Between now and early May, everyone in Pinedale will eagerly await the time and date when the bright yellow barrel breaks through the nearly 2-foot thick layer of ice on Fremont Lake and bobs back to shore. It's the Pinedale Lions Club's annual Fremont Lake Ice Off Guess. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that the Barrel Guess is one of the Pinedale Lions' longest-running fundraisers, a tradition that goes back to at least 1940.
Bob the Barrel is currently sitting on 18 inches of ice in the middle of Fremont Lake, and the idea is the Pinedale Lions Club sells tickets where people guess the exact date and time when Bob the Barrel makes landfall. Now, the thing of it is, they sell hundreds of tickets for this, but your ticket is still valid until the next guess. So let's say if you guess 5 p.m. on April 27th, which is within the window of when Bob typically makes landfall, the next guess might be May 1st at 3 a.m., but if there's no guesses in between there, you could still win the $500 prize.
The most likely time for the ice to come off Fremont Lake is between the last week of April and the first week of May. Each $10 ticket helps fund community initiatives in Sublette County. And that's today's news. For a deeper dive into the people and issues that affect Wyoming, check out The Roundup, conversations with the most interesting people in the Cowboy State. This week, I have a conversation with Casper author Dana Volney, whose short story, A Heart for Christmas, will be made into a major film later this year. You can find the link on our website, on our YouTube channel, and wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, you'll find it in our free daily email newsletter. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Wendy Core for Cowboy State Daily.
Wyoming is the cowboy state. From corner to corner, there are so many stories to be told, and more cowboys and cowgirls are turning to the Cowboy State Daily News team to keep them in touch with what's happening both locally and in other parts of Wyoming. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. We're proud to bring the most important stories to our viewers every day. The stories that start conversations, the stories that make us laugh, the stories that make us think. Our experienced journalists at Cowboy State Daily are crisscrossing the state every day, talking to those who know the news best. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily video newscast every morning, only on cowboystatedaily.com.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
Logan Wilson here at the M Building in Casper, Wyoming. They do more than just support businesses and private events. They support nonprofits by offering reduced rates to help the community thrive. The staff here at the M Building have been incredible in helping me organize a fantastic event. They are great partners for those who want to make a positive impact on the community. Come check out the M for your next event.
You talk to in every family.
All right, we are back. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake. Do you have snow in your neck of the woods? You might be watching or listening outside of Wyoming. And there are other areas that are definitely Montana, Colorado, and Idaho dealing with some adverse conditions. I'm not sure about Utah, but we have some snow. We have some pretty good snow falling still. Not as heavy as it was about 30 minutes ago, but when I first woke up, let the dogs out about 5 a.m., 4:45, it was just a light dusting. And then, things really started to pick up. So uh, we were I was supposed to be traveling to South Pass. I'm hoping that's canceled, and then potentially heading up to maybe up towards the border, and half questioning if that's a good idea. Although I did look at the webcam, and Kirby and areas up above didn't look as bad, but of course, always wanted to check that. I always use my handy dandy Wyoming 511 app to check those road conditions. And we just had a chat with Don Day, and Don mentioned, you can't really predict the forecast very far in advance for Wyoming. But another thing he said is you just drive 5 miles and you're in different conditions. And we're definitely seeing that. Although some areas, it looks like Worland and Graybull are green, and then Matitsi to Cody look like they're experiencing some adverse conditions there, and not too bad. Matitsi has some sunshine, but they have some slick spots on the road for sure. And then looking over towards Graybull and that area and the webcams, they look pretty nice, dry as can be. So if I were to head up to Graybull and Lovell area, wouldn't be too bad. Looks like the road conditions are pretty good up there. But then I don't know how it is once you get if I had to go over into Montana. My family is in Billings still. So if I make it up to the border there, sometimes I pop over and say hi to my little cousin who works at a farm and ranch place in Billings. And we actually had him out at the farm not this last October, but the October before, to help with our sugar beet harvest. And he learned some stuff about farming and ranching in Wyoming, and he was able to take that back to Montana, and now he works at a farm and ranch store. So I always like seeing him. He's 22 or 23, and I should probably remember that, but he's just a young kid finding his way, and he's just a good kid. So I always like to see him if I can, but I never know quite how the weather is shaking up, heading up towards, through Bridger and that direction to Billings. So I know they were expected to get some snow at some point this weekend or today as well. Like Don said, some places have some good amount of snow this morning. Some places do not. So that's just kind of how it shakes up. If you're traveling, if you're coming back from spring break this weekend, or heading on the road for maybe a track meet or something with the kids, check the conditions, check the road report as well. But by Sunday, he says, we will have a good day. So Sunday will be a good day, and it'll be nice if you do have to travel on that day to make your way wherever you're going or home in good weather in Wyoming. That's the best way to travel, because we have so many days where it's not that way, where it could be questionable depending on which route you take. So this weekend too, a lot of folks will be watching March Madness. I'm second in my March Madness pool. There's hundreds of people in it. It's here locally in central Wyoming, or anybody that follows it could have entered it, but all the folks are here locally, because one of the prizes we're giving away is a float trip, and that's with Big Wind River Float Trips. And so, a chance to get on the water and enjoy some time this summer is one of the prizes. But I'm second place. I'm not eligible for any of the prizes, but I still could get bragging rights, and there's a chance that I could move up to first place depending on how things shake up in the Final Four tomorrow night, and how whoever the person is in first, what they chose for their bracket, and for who they have in the big dance in the championship, which I believe is on Monday. So this year, the first weekend of April, like Don mentioned, some adverse conditions as far as weather goes being reported, might continue through the day. But by this time tomorrow, things should start to change. And then by Sunday, we'll be in the warm for sure. And it'll be a nice way to start the next week. He said Thursday and Friday of next week will be a couple of warm days across the state. So if you're planning some stuff outdoors like I am, that'll be the best time to do it. Thanks for listening to the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen, filling in for Jake. Let's hear from that rodeo report. We love supporting our rodeo folks.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Will Rasmussen. Another conversation today with two-time and reigning world champion Riley Webb from Denton, Texas. Only 21 years old, former Resistol Rookie of the Year. We talk about his significant other, Josie Connor, who is a National Finals Rodeo breakaway roper. That conversation on the Roadshow coming up next.
Ranchers Wednesday, April 9th is the 51st annual Pass Creek Angus Ranch production sale at the ranch just south of Wyola, Montana. This year selling 80 yearling and 27 fall Angus bulls out of sires like Vermilion Bomber and GAR Hometown. 7 stout 2-year-old bulls and 25 open commercial heifers also sell. Pass Creek breeds low maintenance cattle that muscle up with quality carcasses. View videos at BillPelton.com. Sale time is 1 o'clock, also carried live on Frontier Live Sale. For more information, visit PassCreekAngus.com.
The American Lamb Board wants 2025 to be the best year yet for education. Lamb Checkoff funded programs include workshops and summits aimed at equipping sheep producers with the necessary tools and resources to profitably grow their operations. Like the American Lamb Summit, July 22nd through 25th, University of Idaho in Moscow. Event highlights include defining lamb quality and hitting carcass targets and increasing production efficiency. Learn more and register at lambboard.com.
Talk about not only are you a star, but your significant other has gone to a national finals rodeo or two in the breakaway roping. Talk about Josie Connor.
Yes, sir. My girlfriend, Josie Connor, she's been kicking butt for a while now. We got to our rookie year was the same year. We both won the Rookie of the Year, and we made the NFR the last couple of years. So that's been really cool. But we got the same goal to win the World Championships, and I think you'll be seeing hers here pretty quick and in the future. We get the rope every day and work at it together, and we got the same goals. So that's really cool.
That is really cool. Riley Webb, the two-time world champion, his girlfriend Josie Connor from Iowa, Louisiana, has been to the last 3 national finals rodeos in the breakaway roping. Last year, she finished number 3 in the world, and that's exactly where she sits in 2025 in search of her first gold buckle. Our thanks to Riley Webb, 3-time national finalist, 2-time and reigning world champion, for being on the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
Oh, I love supporting the rodeo and the 4-H and the FFA and thinking of rodeos. And that was so cute with Riley Webb and his girlfriend, Josie Connor, and hearing about those two. And wishing them the best of luck. But speaking of rodeos in Wyoming, we have a lot of them and some cool ones to check out. Of course, Cody has rodeos every day, all summer. A lot of folks know that. It's a great thing for visitors that are driving through on a random weekday. And then every weekend on Friday nights, they have the Du Bois Rodeo. And so the Du Bois Rodeo happens every weekend through the summer. They have a schedule out, and it's a ton of fun. So big shout out to my friends in Du Bois. And then the Lander Old Timers Rodeo Association, they put on some rodeos in Lander, one of which is for the 4th of July weekend, which is a doozy and one you don't want to miss if you like rodeos. So speaking of rodeos, able to get that rodeo report every morning here with Cowboy State Daily. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake. Want to thank some of my great guests that I've had over the last 2 weeks. Today is my last day. It's a little bittersweet because I've really enjoyed getting to know all the folks with Cowboy State Daily, getting to know you. I've received some great encouragement. I'm definitely a lot different than Jake and a little bit more goofy. And you've dealt with it. And so I know that your normal routine is a little shaken up here with me being on. But I hope to be back from time to time and giving that great guy, Jake, a break when he needs it. But thank you to some of my great guests that I had on. I want to mention them again. Chad Gardner, he's a former University of Wyoming player. He played on the team that went to the Vegas Bowl. So he played on a heck of a team, and just some great insight from Chad, not only on the team that went to the Vegas Bowl, but how the Pokes will be this year, and just chatted some sports in general. Also had Joshua Corsi, my friend from the Muley Fanatic Foundation, and MFF. They do so many great things. That's why I'm a member of the Muley Fanatic Foundation. They do wonderful work. I'm also a conservation ambassador for the Wyoming Wildlife Federation. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that and didn't leave them out. Owen Sweeney with the Lander Chamber of Commerce. We talked about attainable housing and how big of an issue that is. Not affordable housing, but attainable housing, because affordable means something different to everybody. So I love that he really made me think about it differently. Attainable housing. So shout out to Owen Sweeney, Lander Chamber of Commerce. They have their big brew fest, which is the best little brew fest in the West. I've been to a lot of brew fests in Montana and Idaho and Wyoming, and Landers is one of the best. And so they've now added distillers to it. They have that for 2 days, the 13th and 14th in June. If you're thinking of a little road trip or want to come visit, or you live in central Wyoming, make sure you put that on your calendar there. We had Senator Lummis on the show. That was super cool. That was yesterday's show. You can find that back on the live YouTube channel. And she's great. It was fun to chat with her. We chatted about some serious political stuff, but we also just had some fun. I asked her what she's got planned this summer, what she's looking forward to, and kind of too what she does on a weekend when she's not senatoring or in DC or in Cheyenne. And so it was great to hear from her and kind of just remind folks that she's a human too, and she's got a life, and it's great to find out more about what they do in their personal time, which is something I've really enjoyed. We had Carolyn and Evelyn. I think Carolyn was the daughter's name, but Evelyn was the grandma or the mom. And she reminds me of my grandma a lot, but she's traveled to, I think, 80 countries, and she's just a travel queen. She's the original OG Instagram influencer without having Instagram. And they were a travel mom and daughter, and they've got some other travel plans and a really cool book that they've got out. Had my friend Nate Brown on, Friends of the NRA, hopefully getting Nate back on because I didn't realize his microphone was a little dodgy, so I want to chat too. He just started with the Friends of the NRA, so hopefully we'll get him on too. But I have had a plethora of guests in my time, and I surely appreciate it because it's not easy doing a show for 4 hours by yourself. So really, and it's not about me, obviously, but it's about the communities that Cowboy State Daily serves. It's about getting folks on that are talking about important topics or fun topics or goofy topics or books. So there's a lot of stuff there when it comes to the guests here for Cowboy State Daily, and they really make the show, of course. So I appreciate it. Thank you for listening, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen, filling in for Jake.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, April 4th. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Kaur. In 2024, the Wyoming Secretary of State's office referred 16 separate election complaints to Wyoming Attorney General Bridget Hill's office for prosecution. But according to results of public records requests provided to politics reporter Leah Wolfson, none of them have been prosecuted. Secretary of State Chuck Gray told Cowboy State Daily that not only has Hill taken no action on any of the complaints, she's also failed to keep him apprised of the status of any of the cases.
The amount of complaints has drastically increased during Secretary of State Chuck Gray's administration. Spoke to Kai Schoen, the former elections director for Wyoming, who preceded Gray's administration, and he said they would typically forward about 5 to 6 complaints on average. Gray has really brought a hardline approach to election reform, believing that the state has many vulnerabilities that need to be closed up, despite there being an extremely low amount of fraud documented in the state.
Hill confirmed to Cowboy State Daily that no charges have been filed in any of these cases, but her office is still actively investigating 8 of them, while also recognizing some of the cases are related to the same topic. Wyoming residents pay less than most Americans for electricity. That's what a Wednesday report from the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, shows. It declares that Wyoming is home to the lowest power bills in the United States. And the ALEC report is just one of many sources that shows Wyomingites pay less for electricity. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that energy affordability is a topic popular enough to qualify as clickbait on the internet.
One consistent thing in all these different reports is that that Wyoming has low per kilowatt rates. And so one report found that we're paying 8.24 cents per kilowatt hour. Another had it around 11 cents. Either way, that's really low based on comparisons to places like Hawaii, where it's 30 and 40 cents per kilowatt hour.
The CashNet USA report found Wyoming households spend around $1,500 on electricity each year. That's $439 less than the national average. Mexican authorities announced last week they're deporting a convicted LSD and marijuana dealer from Wyoming who'd been hiding out in a small town. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that 25-year-old Gabriel Rogers was convicted in April 2019 for possessing stolen firearms and conspiring to distribute LSD and marijuana, and was hiding in the Mexican town after evading his U.S.-imposed supervised release.
He was sentenced in early 2019 from 2018 charges where the court documents describe just this rollicking case, like 30-some guns stolen from a pawn shop in Gillette. But then Rogers did his time, and then they said, okay, after this, you need to do 3 years of supervised release. So report to your probation officer when you get out of jail. He gets out in Nebraska, and he does not report. That's December 2022. He vanishes. Next we hear of him, the Mexican media is reporting that an American man was caught in a Mexican town relating to original charges of drug trafficking.
Rogers showed recent addresses in Sundance, Wyoming, and in Rapid City, South Dakota before his 2018 arrest. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous and 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Well, 2 wind farm projects in eastern Wyoming got a green light before the State Board of Land Commissioners on Thursday, but not before tempers flared yet again between Governor Mark Gordon and Secretary of State Chuck Gray. Gordon and Gray were on opposing sides when it came to approving the 2 separate wind farm projects that would lease state land in Converse and Niobrara counties over the course of a 40-year term. Cowboy State Daily's Leo Wolfson reports that both wind projects were approved by the board on 4-1 votes, with Gray the only member to vote against both.
Gray basically believes that wind energy is a hoax and predicated on government subsidies, while Governor Mark Gordon has consistently espoused an all-of-the-above energy policy, and he believes that these very large wind farms could have a strong benefit for Converse and Niobrara counties where they will be built.
An executive session was held for about 30 minutes to discuss the issue, where Gray said the board was assured by their legal counsel there were no vulnerabilities in it, but that was a conclusion he disagreed with. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
I had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life.
And we just had a new baby. And then all of a sudden, within a day or two, she's on life support and fighting for her life.
They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
The American Heart Association funds research that leads to medical breakthroughs, trains people in CPR, and certifies hospitals to provide the best care for people who've had a heart attack or stroke.
I am very thankful for the American Heart Association.
One simple act today can save your life or the life of a loved one.
Heart disease is the #1 killer in America. To learn more about how the American Heart Association is saving lives, go to helpheart.org.
Welcome back. It's Friday. That's right. TGIF. Good morning. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. So glad to be here with you, and hope you have a great rest of your day today. And then remember, tomorrow morning, there is a Saturday morning show, and that starts at 6 a.m. with Mr. John Beggs. He'll be on from 6 until 10, and he has some great guests that will be on as well. So be looking for that Saturday morning show with Mr. John Beggs, and let's head to the Zoom room. Mr. Sniffin, how are you?
Nice to meet you. It's Shireen, right?
Yes, yes. Can you get a little closer to your microphone, Bill? I can't hear you very well.
Let me get a little closer.
There
I'll
you,
do
yeah.
it again. Is that a little better?
That sure is. Well, it is so great to officially meet you on the Zoom here with Cowboy State Daily. I have heard your name since I've been in media here, Bill. So yeah, it's just great to chat with you.
You're based out of Riverton, are you?
Yep, yeah, Central Wyoming.
Yeah. I've been there for 55 years, so kind of the old guy around that area.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Where are you at now?
Right now, we're spending a little winter time down in Dallas, Texas.
Oh,
At my daughter's house. I did put my deck, a photo of the snow on my deck behind me. So, are we in the air now, Shereen?
yeah, yeah, we are. Yep.
Great.
Yeah, we should be. And I know that you often talk with Jake about how much snow you have on your deck. I always love those chats.
Really, really snowy. Sometimes I'm not sure what it's like there. I think that we've actually had a very nice spring. And one of my columns that I wrote recently was old men like to talk about the weather.
I love to talk about the weather,
That
Bill. So
qualifies me, you know.
yeah, yeah, media folks for sure. But I have some good snow right now. I live outside of Riverton, and yeah, we have some thick snowflakes that are falling right now, Bill, and making some adverse conditions. I was supposed to go up to South Pass to the Rock Shop Inn, and that is being rescheduled, I hope, because I don't want to drive on South Pass right now.
No, I've been again. I'm so old that I broke my leg at the Rock Shop Inn 35 years ago, and it was loading a snowmobile.
Oh, well, they've remodeled that whole thing
And
now.
it's fantastic what they've done to it. It's really become a tremendous asset. The fellow that's doing it, he's been working on it for about 5 or 6 years. So it's a real work of art and a lifetime goal for him. So very, have you been up there, or are you just getting ready to go there?
Yeah, I've been up there. I haven't been able to see some of the remodel, like the bar that Anthony did, but Bill was mentioning the owner, Anthony. He's fantastic. He's also a veteran. And so, Bill, I always love to support any veteran owned business I can. Yeah. Well, Bill, let's chat about what you have going on. What are you writing right now, or what do you got going on?
Well, I've published a number of books. Little background: I owned the Lander newspaper for 30 years. Then my wife and I owned a lot of other media companies and a lot of other newspapers around the state. I wrote a statewide column for 22 years. It was in anywhere between 20 and 30 newspapers every week. Then I published a bunch of books, including 3 coffee table books. I kind of know a lot about the state. Uh, and every year I write a column called My Wyoming Bucket List. And it's the things that I'm hoping I'll do this year. And I've done a lot of things in my life. And been one end of this state to the other. And I don't know. I'm always nervous about calling myself an expert on anything, but I think I probably am an expert on Wyoming. I'm also a former chairman of the Wyoming Travel Commission, and I also founded the Wind River Visitor Council. So I've had a lot of tourism stuff in my life besides journalism. So as a result, it's sort of my life work, be everything in Wyoming and be every corner of it, and then tell people about it. And this year, there's 2 little towns in Wyoming. One's called LaGrange and one's called LaBarge. And I always thought that's such a funny. One's in the east part of the state and one's in the west. I've been wanting to get to those towns, and I finally made that last. And you know what? It's pretty cool, especially LaBarge. Have you ever been to LaBarge?
I don't know. Where is it located at?
Well, it's west of Pinedale, and
Okay.
it's near Big Piney, which is the ice box of the nation.
Is it near Bondurant?
Not too far
Okay.
from Bondurant, yes, and west of Bondurant, but it's near a town called Daniel,
Oh,
which
yes.
is famous for two things. That Daniel is where the first Catholic mass in Wyoming was ever performed, and it was done by a man named Father DeSmet. The other thing that Daniel recently became famous for was a guy tracked down a wolf and
Right.
you know that whole experience. Good Lord, you know, but that gave the state a pretty good black eye, and even though apparently what he did was borderline legal, wolves are, I'm certainly no friend of wolves, but I just kind of think there's good form and there's bad form.
Yep. Yep. Well,
I would
Bill,
say that was really bad form. So
yeah. Well,
anyway,
I have a question to ask you though, real quick before we get too much farther, because does this have to do with your Wyoming bucket list? Because I wrote down I want to ask you what you're on your Wyoming bucket list this year.
well, that was yes, that's what I'm going to tell you.
Okay, perfect.
Let me get my list out of some of the places that normally I put on there. You obviously you have Yellowstone, you have Devil's Tower, you have you know, everybody knows Yellowstone was the first national park. People aren't so sure that Devil's Tower was the world's first national monument. And that big national forest behind you and me, the Shoshone, is the world's first national forest. Well, those are all a little historical factoids, but those are all places that I like to go. But I'm actually looking at places not quite like that, a little more out of the way. And on my list is a small mountain up on South Pass in the desert, or in the Red Desert, somewhat near South Pass, called Steamboat Mountain, and it's near the Tri-Territorial where the location shows that Wyoming once was part of Britain, France, and Spain, and I actually saw that maybe literally 50 years ago, and I haven't been back. And a very good friend of mine named Dave Kellogg, that was one of his best favorite places. He uh, he was always wanting to take me up there, and then poor Dave, he died last year. So I thought, man, I got to get up there, and nothing else, I'll post him on a little shot of scotch.
Yeah. That's great, Bill. Bill, stay up on that microphone for me if you can. I'm losing you when you sit back there a little bit, but I wanted to mention that's such a beautiful area, Bill, and I don't think a lot of people think about that area. You need to. I know you have some coffee table books, but when you finish your Wyoming bucket list, I hope you have notes written down and can compile that into some sort of book.
Well, you know, I could almost do that because I've been writing this Wyoming bucket list for years. But there's so many things in Wyoming, like little towns like Kensington and Chugwater that have such weird names, and Keepit, you know, is a common and misspelled town, and it's a very interesting place.
I'm hoping that I can link up with you in person when you come back from your snowbirding.
Yeah, I would like that very much. And, but anyway, it's there's a place over in eastern Wyoming called Ranch A, and it's this spectacular brick and moss rock and wood lodge. It's
Ooh.
owned by the state of Wyoming, and it's a long story as to how it happened. But it was kind of built by a guy with mob ties with Al Capone in the 30s, and it's in this beautiful location, and it's you can actually rent it for family gatherings and company retreats. But it's, I've only been there a few times. And even though you and I live we're very outspoken in thinking we live in the most beautiful part of Wyoming. We definitely live in the highest mountains part of Wyoming. Everybody thinks the Tetons are the highest mountains. No, the Wind River is the highest mountains. But because of that, when I started this project, I wanted to make sure that I gave every part of the state even shot. And so I discovered these, maybe they're not quite as dramatic, but these places have wonderful things. And northeastern part of Wyoming is called the Wyoming Black Hills, and it's a beautiful part of the state. But Wyoming is the second largest or tallest. Let's start over. Wyoming is the second highest state in America, elevation-wise, our average elevation. We're a very high state. That's why we're so but Aladdin is a town in the extreme northeast part of the state, and it's only 3,800, maybe 3,500 feet, I'm thinking, above sea level. So it's almost 1,000 feet lower.
Wow.
But it's a beautiful location, and the town consists of one gigantic store. And that store you can buy anything in it. It's up near Devil's Tower, and
Okay.
again, that whole area is just one of the more coolest places. Then one of my favorite towns is Newcastle, and it has a courthouse there that's almost like a gingerbread house. It doesn't look like a typical courthouse. So it's just really cool, and it's just a lot of really nice people. I love that town. And another town on the east side is Wheeler, and it's another one of my favorite towns. And just these are kind of I actually grew up in the Midwest, and some of those towns in the east, like Torrington and Wheatland, are ag towns. They remind me of the Midwest. They're not. They're just full of really interesting people, interesting things. But I in previous columns I talked about the Thor Buffalo Jump.
Uh-huh.
That's up by between Norcross and that. But it's there's a huge hole in the ground. And Indian tribes for thousands of years would drive buffalo herds into that hole. And they've been excavating it, and there's just literally tens of thousands of skeletons of all these different animals in there.
Wow.
It's an amazing place. I mean, it's just amazing. And they've done a wonderful job of the history of all that area. And then, a friend of mine reached out the other day and said that don't forget at the Hot Springs State Park in Vermont, they have shooting ponds that call it crayfish and goldfish. I've been there, but it's been many years. And again, you're thinking you're in a hot springs park, but here's the actual like a Japanese garden. So some of these. So what I kind of what I kind of specialize is the out of the way things that if you think you know Wyoming, well, let me tell you, have you been to the Goldfish Ponds in Demopolis, or have you been to Ranch A at Beulah, or have you been to the Boar Buffalo Jump at
Yeah,
Delta?
you're a plethora of knowledge, Bill, and you're like the best person to take to any trivia night, especially for the state of Wyoming. Bill, it's been a pleasure. We got to get going here, but I could talk to you all day because you are one interesting guy.
But it's been a pleasure meeting you, and we'll see you. Will we see you or John next Friday?
Well, Jake should be back actually, so you should be
Jake,
back
that's
with
right.
Jake, and then Mr. Sniffen, when you come back home, I'd love to meet up and maybe grab a coffee or something.
That's a date. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Bill Sniffen, of course, Cowboy State Daily. A wonderful, wonderful guy to have on the show, and it's just so great. Another wonderful guy is Mr. Donde.
Welcome to Friday, TGIF. It's April 4th, 2025. Your Day with a Podcast brought to you by ConverseCountyTourism.com. Feel the energy of Converse County. Explore Douglas's railroad heritage, Ayers Natural Bridge, and the Jackalope legend. Glen Rock boasts scenic trails, dinosaur history, and small town charm. Plan your visit at conversecountytourism.com. Well, the cold is going to linger for a bit longer here. Warmer weather's coming. We will revert from the wintry weather pattern to more of a spring one. But we've kind of got to get through the weekend as this broad, slow-moving area of low pressure will continue to keep things unsettled with rain and snow chances in the region through Saturday. A lot of you will see the last of the rain and snow shower activity today, but for the southern areas, New Mexico, southern Colorado, into West Texas, Kansas, you're going to have the rain and snow continue into the weekend there as the southern part of the trough rolls through. Now we're back to what we call dirty high pressure and warmer temperatures next week. Now you're going to say, well, what is dirty high pressure? I'll explain that here in a moment. But it's high pressure, so a warmer, more spring-like weather pattern is going to return as we get into next week. However, because it's a dirty high pressure ridge, still there's going to be some possible chances of some scattered showers and even thunderstorms in portions of the northern and central Rockies next week. The next larger shift back to cooler, unsettled weather and better precipitation chances will come sometime next weekend, but a lot of variability in the computer modeling once we get past 6 days. So let's say the pattern for next weekend is something that we still have to determine. Taking a look at some photos from yesterday, shower activity developed late yesterday afternoon and evening, and then overnight in some areas. It was rain, it was snow, it was some thunder. There you can see some showers there in western Nebraska. The dark skies up in northern Wyoming with this next impending trough coming on through. Beautiful scene there along the North Platte River near Glen Rock with the frosted trees and, well, the calm waters, at least for that moment. Now, when we take a look at the surface map for the USA today, looks a lot like yesterday. We've got the severe weather and the very heavy rain focused in this area here, and this is going to continue well into the weekend where a lot of flooding and severe weather will be taking place. Here's the next cold front sweeping through the region, and there is going to be some weather coming in behind it. When we look at the satellite imagery here in a moment, you can really see that. These are the advisories. We've got flood watches, flood warnings. These are flash flood warnings for a large swath of the nation's midsection. This is winter weather advisories. Winter storm watches in effect for northeast New Mexico. Weather advisories for winter conditions into the Texas Panhandle. Then up along the cold front, some winter weather advisories for the northern areas. You can see the bright clouds from the cluster of showers and thunderstorms that are going through the same area. And there's going to be the reformation of these showers and thunderstorms today, tomorrow, and Sunday in the same area. Hence the flooding concerns. The next trough coming in up from the northern areas, dragging a cold front through here, is what will be producing scattered rain and snow showers across the central and northern Rockies today. It's kind of easier to see in the water vapor loop where we've got the low down here near the Four Corners area, then the low up here, and you can see the moisture flow is just coming on in and getting directed towards there. Since we have a split low pattern, we're not able to bring back this moisture here westward into the high plains if these two had gotten their act together. So that's why the channeling, the focusing of the deeper moisture and the heavy rain and the flooding in the central United States is occurring there. And you can really see that at the 500 millibar pattern. You might say, well, I don't see a low pressure system here. I don't see what the deal is. Why is there such heavy rain? Well, if you just watch the big pattern, the big picture, so to speak, the clockwise circulation around the high is drawing up deep moisture from the lower latitudes, and the counterclockwise rotation around the low they're working in unison. So basically, we have an atmospheric river of very moist air getting channeled in from the lower latitudes where the air is a lot warmer and a lot more moist and focusing it into this area. At the same time, the air aloft is getting colder as this trough slowly approaches. So colder air aloft, warmth on the bottom, warmth near the surface, with deep moisture is going to lead to that shower and thunderstorm pattern. And when you look, this is where we are today. This is where we are tomorrow. So there really isn't a lot of a change in this particular part of the country. Now notice up here, we have this sharp part of this trough here. That's where the cold frontal boundary is. And that cold front sweeps through. And that's what will be producing some shower activity today and into early tomorrow in this area here. When we take a look at the lower 48, this is through Sunday. This is only through Sunday. So you can see the very heavy rainfall here, the heavier precipitation back into New Mexico and West Texas, and then the spotty shower activity that's on behind this system coming up from the north. This area of heavier precipitation occurred last night and right now early this morning across parts of Nebraska and South Dakota. So if you take a zoomed in approach, this is for the same time period, just zoomed in. You can see lighter amounts in the northern areas, heavier amounts down into the south. When we take a look at the snowfall forecast, still plenty cold enough for snow, even all the way down into places like Roswell, down to near Alamogordo and along the mountains there in central and southern New Mexico, all the way down into West Texas, it could snow. So getting pretty deep with that cold air pretty far south, and there you can see the temperature anomalies over the next 5 days. So it's going to remain very chilly, in particular today and tomorrow. But we warm up. By Monday, we get a high pressure ridge coming in. This trough is still stubborn to move very quickly to the east, but it does. But notice we have strong jet stream winds coming into the Pacific Northwest coast. And this is what I mean by a dirty ridge. The high pressure builds in, but there is going to be basically a forceful jet stream pushing against the high and wanting to beat it down a little bit. And that allows pieces of energy and instability and moisture to break off, come through the high pressure ridge. And there you can see that by Tuesday. See the high pressure ridge, the top of it gets knocked off. So it's not able to completely block these low pressure systems. It will allow, the door will be open to crack, so to speak, to allow Pacific energy and moisture through. And that's going to produce, as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, some scattered shower and thunderstorm activity, but this is certainly going to be a warmer pattern. By Friday, the ridge kind of rebuilds itself. So the Thursday, Friday time frame is probably the warmest couple of days next week. But we have the next approaching trough coming in the Pacific Northwest. That'll be throwing mid and high level cloudiness into the region and some shower activity into the Pacific Northwest coast, into central and northern areas of California. Eventually, this trough will get pushed through the Intermountain West, and that will likely result in cooler temperatures and a chance for precipitation on a more widespread basis, probably sometime next weekend or shortly thereafter. So we'll be keeping an eye and talking about this system on Monday some more. Have yourself a great weekend. Stay warm. See you Monday.
Great hearing from Don Day with that forecast as we gear up for the weekend. I'm Shireen Herrera filling in for Jake on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. Let's head to the Zoom room. Yes, we got another guest in the Zoom room. Helen Wilson, Wind River Visitors Council. Helen, how are you?
I am great. How are you today, Shireen?
Oh, lovely. There's quite a bit of snow falling. How about where you're at?
A little bit of snow. Yep, definitely. The seasons are changing.
Yeah, and we're in for a wet spring, I think, as Don Day has mentioned with the forecast. Helen, take a moment here real quick to introduce yourself and tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Well, my name's Helen Wilson, and I'm the executive director of the Wind River Visitors Council. Our job is to bring people to the area. So we are fully funded by the lodging tax, the 4% local lodging tax, and we market the area. And the area is Wind River Country, which includes all of Fremont County and the Wind River Indian Reservation.
I think, Helen, when I had first learned of the Wind River Visitors Council, when I moved to Fremont County just over 4 years ago, I wasn't quite sure all the things you guys do and did, and it's enormous. There is just such a mass amount, Helen, that I had no idea that you were involved in, and the Wind River Visitors Council. And really, it seems like your passion, too, is making sure that the places that you promote and market are places that people want to go. So you really have a genuine passion about the community. It seems like you're constantly giving back, and I just wasn't something I quite realized till I kind of worked with you more.
Yeah, and one of the pieces to that is destination development. And we don't want to just bring people here and not have the communities be ready for them. So we do a lot of local trainings. We're about to do a TripAdvisor Google training for local businesses to update their profile to make the visitor experience really good. So we do destination development, we market events. We have a very active community calendar and we actually have an event wrangler that runs that community calendar, and anything that we post automatically goes to the Wyoming Office of Tourism. County 10, we get the word out. We want to make it so that it's a pleasant place for visitors to be, and we want to bring in more visitors.
What is it like working in tourism in a state with fewer residents than some counties in the country?
Well, one of the things I really love about working in Wyoming is that all of the lodging tax boards, and I believe there's 23 of us, we all communicate regularly. We run ideas by each other. We're a close group of friends. We also work closely with the Wyoming Office of Tourism. I'm not sure if other states are like that, but I just can't picture bigger states being able to have such close relationships with other people in the field.
What makes Wyoming such a special place for visitors?
We've got it all. We really do. We have beautiful landscapes. We've got wildlife. We've got really rich cultural and historical experiences. We really do have it all. And our trademarks at the Winter Visitors Council are room to breathe and room to roam. And we really like to promote that there is lots of room to breathe and room to roam and just being outside and taking a step back in time to just a beautiful place with incredible wildlife.
Well, if you're just tuning in, Helen Wilson, Wind River Visitors Council, windriver.org. Helen, what is the biggest misconception you have probably experienced or heard from visitors about their first time in Wyoming?
I think a lot of people think that we're just a big flat state with lots of sagebrush. And while we definitely have lots of sagebrush, we also have mountains and we have rivers and we have lakes and we have just so many. We have so much diversity. And if you look at our state, each part of the state is so different, and not only in the landscape, but in the music scene or the art scene or the rodeo scene, the Western scene. We've got the Wind River Indian Reservation here in Wind River Country. There's just a lot going on. And I think that a lot of people maybe don't realize how much does go on here. Also, something that comes up sometimes is that Wyoming is so remote that it's hard to get to. But we have, great airports. From here in Riverton, you can fly directly to Denver, and then from Denver, you can go anywhere. We also have major highways going through the state. So it is very accessible by either car or by plane.
How do you see tourism for the state of Wyoming changing or molding over the years in the future?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think that and COVID in a way has brought this on us where people are really looking for that open experience, that room to breathe, room to roam again. And so we have seen a steady increase in people since the pandemic of people wanting to find the places that have 6 feet apart. And now that, of course, we're no longer in a pandemic, people still want that space and they're enjoying it. Another thing that we're seeing, so people used to think of Wyoming as a summer destination and then a little bit as a winter destination for snowmobiling. But we are actually a four-season destination. And so we are getting people coming for the spring colors, the fall colors, winter activities, summer activities. We've got outdoor recreation that can be as extreme as you want it to be, but also as mild as you want it to be. So we are seeing different audiences, and I do see an increase continuing. of people wanting to come to Wyoming. And that's where the destination development is really important, because we need to be ready for those people so that not only that the visitors have a really positive experience, but that the locals do as well.
Well, I urge you to check windriver.org and stay in touch with the Wind River Visitors Council. Helen, what is one hidden gem in Wind River country that even some locals might not know about?
Well, Shireen, I know you're familiar with this one, but I would say the Boulder Choke Cave in Sinks Canyon State Park. This is a cave that Sinks Canyon State Park has a river, the Poposha River, that runs into a limestone cave and disappears. And then it pops up quarter of a mile down the road at the rise with some incredibly large trout, larger trout than I've ever seen. But amongst all of this, there is a caving system. And the cave is now, the Sinks Canyon State Park is now doing tours of the cave, which is pretty exciting because it makes it so that people can go and have that caving experience. But I do, I occasionally post a photo of the caves, or, we did a podcast about it and people say, where is that? But it is, and it's the hidden gem. It's the hidden gem that is just so worth doing.
It's literally hidden. And again, back to the podcast for the Wind River Visitors Council, Wyoming's Wind River Country, Yellowstone's unique neighbor. Find that podcast and subscribe, because Helen, that podcast wasn't just done about the caves. That was done inside of the caves with our handy dandy device. We were army crawling. I even lost one of the microphones in the choke portion that you can go on. And we were recording that during that trip through the cave itself. Helen, I think that's the one I would think of too. And I think so many people are surprised that we have caving in Sinks Park.
Yep, definitely.
All right, Helen, if someone only had 24 hours to experience Wind River country, what should they do in that time? We talked about the caves, but maybe there's something more general.
Well, and that's tough because our area is so big. But in Du Bois, I would suggest the museums. We have a world-class military museum called the National Museum of Military Vehicles. We've got the National Bighorn Sheep Center, where you can explore not only the center, but go on tours, eco tours to go and see the sheep. And then, of course, the Du Bois Museum, where you can get the historical aspect. Lander, definitely Sinks Canyon State Park, the caves, of course, the visitor center, the Sinks, the Rise, hiking, hiking out to the natural water slides, which are, I think 1.7 miles in each direction. It's a moderate hike. It's not too tough. And then in Riverton, shops, restaurants, the river walk, the reservation, of course. We've got so much going on there that we actually created an audio tour. It's through Travel Stories, and that's a free app. And you can do a tour of the whole reservation. And it includes places like Sacagawea Cemetery, which has Sacagawea's burial site, although there's definitely some question about that. But you can go see it.
Yeah, it's Traveling Stories, right, for the app, Helen?
Travel Stories, yeah.
Travel Stories. And then Du Bois also has a cool one. And they continue, Helen is a big part of that and continue to be involved with helping bring that, because it's easy to get the app and then just kind of listen to the stories while you're walking or going to the next destination. So I think those are great ways, Helen, to not only involve the folks who live here, but also the folks that visit Wind River country.
Yes, definitely. And with these audio tours, they're really nice because they are satellite based. And when you arrive in the area and you're not quite sure what to do, maybe your kids have been in the car all day, it's just a really nice way to get out and explore your surroundings with a tour guide. And it's free.
Yep.
So it's lots of fun.
Well, Helen, with the Wind River Visitors Council, you do such a fantastic job. I love being connected with you, and I love the work that the council is doing. I love the podcast, which I'm biased. Of course, I host it with Helen, but Wyoming's Wind River Country, Yellowstone's unique neighbor. We've done all kinds of cool stuff. We have some really informational episodes, and then we have some really immersive podcasts. We did an eco tour with the National Bighorn Sheep Center, and we were actually out and about looking at bighorn rams mic'd up. We have a great device that we use. We were in the caves. We were dog sledding. That has to be, Helen, that has to be my favorite episode. And I need to get that out more because it was I've done so many podcasts in my time. So many. I mean, before people were even podcasting, we were podcasting in media. That is by far my favorite episode. Not only talking to some of the mushers and the kids, but we were actually mic'd up while we took a dog sledding trip.
Yeah, and what's amazing about that podcast is as you listen to it, you can hear the smiles and the joy and the excitement, and so you listen to this podcast and you can't help but smile.
And love Wind River Country, and that's what it's all about. So again, it's Wyoming's Wind River Country, Yellowstone's unique neighbor. Helen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're ultra busy. I look forward to seeing the good work you continue to do for Wind River Country.
Well, thank you, thank you. And if anybody wants more information about us, windriver.org.
Thank you, Helen Wilson. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
Great having Helen on. Wind River Visitors Council, windriver.org. Also follow them on social media. They do a fantastic job when it comes to socials. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show.
Want to stay in touch with what's happening around Wyoming? I'm Wendy Core, host of the Cowboy State Daily video newscast. From Mountain View to Upton, from Jackson to Cheyenne, our reporters are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. Every day, I talk to the talented journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, I bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily video news every morning, only on cowboystatedaily.com. This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
In 2023, arm pump was holding me back. After a successful treatment at the McGinley Clinic in Wyoming, I can now focus on track instead of pain. The McGinley Clinic offers innovative, minimally invasive treatments for most sports injuries, including arm pump. They got me back to peak performance and back on the podium. Go check out McGinley Clinic today.
Welcome back. Good morning. I'm Shireen Herrera, also known as Shireen the Adventure Queen, filling in for Jake on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. It's been great being here. It was fantastic having Helen Wilson on with the Wind River Visitors Council. Before Helen, we had Bill Sniffen. He was one of the folks that started the Visitors Council, so it's great to see how connected we are here in Wyoming and just in the Northwest region in general. And that's why I love being here, love being a part of the Cowboy State Daily crew, and just love being a part of Wyoming and being the folks that make this place a great place to live and a great place for people to visit. Helen mentioned, they don't expect things to slow down as far as visitors and tourism for the state of Wyoming. So I always watch windriver.org. They put out some great information, and you can kind of keep your, keep a pulse on how things are as far as tourism goes here for not only Wind River country, but also Wyoming. It's Friday. Are you excited for the weekend? Do you have anything planned? How many parents are heading out for some track this weekend? I know quite a few parents that have some activities. I think some soccer, potentially. A couple of soccer folks I know don't have anything going on this weekend, I believe. So hopefully that's the case because things could get a little dicey as far as the weather goes. So, if you are traveling for athletics this weekend, please watch the weather and stay in the know with Dawn Day. All right, we're heading to the Zoom room. Oh my gosh, it's Miss Wendy Core. Wendy.
Hello, Shireen. How are you? Finally get to be on your show.
Yeah, I know. Well, I feel like it's your show because I've been watching you for so long. I told folks I'm fangirling out. You and Senator Lummis are the two I've been most excited about talking to.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. That's awesome. Well, it's just because you're forced to see me because of the news on every day. So
Isn't
that's
it
all.
weird, though, how you just kind of become a part of people's lives?
It is. It's so weird. Shireen, I like walk into, random places. They're like, "Hi, Wendy." And I'm like, "Hi."
Yeah, I know. They see your
Yeah.
face every day like I do, so it's
Yeah.
so cool. How's your morning going so far?
It's great. It's great. It's Friday. Because we do the newscast, we do it the night before, then so my work nights are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So last night was my Friday. So today is like once I get done with my morning stuff, I'm like, "Oh, it's a day off."
What do you
Wow.
do? Because you work all the
Yeah.
time.
Honey, that's the truth.
That is the truth.
It is. It is. You do the hustle too, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm just so impressed, and I just want to say I think you're ultra talented. I love seeing your face. You have a great disposition, a great delivery. I think Wyoming has needed that in the news and video world. People shy away from that, especially, you've been in radio and media, and there wasn't any video and wasn't a lot of cameras back, sometimes I started 17 years ago. We really didn't have much of anything on that front, and now we all have to adapt, and you look great on camera, and I want to know your skin secret. I always tell everybody that.
It's genetics. I credit my grandmother. I told my mother yesterday that somebody I was talking to, I said, "Yeah, I'm the same age as you." And they said, "What?" And I said, "Hey, I credit my mother." And I told her that, and she said, "No, it's your grandmother." I said, "Okay."
Genetics,
No,
yeah. You can't
it's genetics.
You
It's
can't
just
bottle
genetics.
those and sell those.
No,
darn it.
you can't. You can't. And it's attitude. I mean, it's got to be attitude, right?
Mhm.
I mean, Shireen, you know that. It's got to be attitude. You have to smile even when things are absurd because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, and that's really important too with news. I mean, that's a tough thing, Wendy. And for folks who are listening
Oh.
right now, is Wendy has to deliver some tough stories, and there's just such an art and classiness about it and the way you do it. It's tough though.
It is. Oh my gosh. I tell you who is the craziest at Cowboy State Daily when it comes to these tough stories. It is Claire McFarland. It is crazy. She like eats this stuff up and she is the sunniest person, but she just give her a good crazy crime story and she is like on caffeine. She's so excited.
Yeah.
That and immigration law.
Yeah. Yeah, she knows a lot too. Who would have, every
Yeah.
time I read her stories or I've had the chance to chat with her on the show, I'm just like, she's just shy of being an attorney, basically.
Oh, she is. And she's completely, I mean, she has no training in it. She just eats this stuff up and understands it and can spit it back out to us. And I think that's the key. I think that's the key is being able to understand something. That's a good journalist. That's a good, anybody who's in our position, Shireen, who's out there to disseminate information. The whole idea is to make it in bite-sized chunks that people who don't know why it's important can say, "Oh, this is why I should care about this." And I think that's our responsibility as not just journalists, but as also you and me being on the radio, being on video, being able to say, this might not be something that you've thought about before, but I'm here to tell you and to get you informed so you can be a good citizen. And I just feel it's a great responsibility.
It is, yeah, and it's a tough responsibility sometimes, and the news doesn't stop 24/7, 365, so I'm always
Yeah.
thinking about my folks in media, radio, TV, and the news world as
Yeah.
well, and it's been great getting to know some of the Cowboy State Daily reporters and journalists, Wendy, because, we had a gal on this morning that's an author, and she wrote a book about online harassment for journalists, and I thought to myself,
Really?
she worked for USA Today, and she was told by one of her readers that she wasn't a human, and they didn't think that, they almost dehumanize these folks who write these stories and think they're a computer. They're humans, they're people. And so we've had a great time on the show talking a little bit out of the subject of work and more in their personal lives and what they like to do. So I think it's been nice for folks to kind of realize that these are humans behind the stories for Cowboy
Yes.
State Daily.
And I think going back to what you said about video and about how this is something new for us, it is absolutely something new. I went into video kicking and screaming. I was
Me
not
too.
supposed to do. Yeah, see? Yeah. You picking up what I'm putting down.
Yep, yep.
It is radio. That's where I started. I mean, I was theater. That's one of the reasons why I'm one of the gifts that we all have. You use your gifts, right? And
Yep.
so one of the gifts is I was, speech and theater when I was in high school and theater major in college and all these things. But so when Jimmy Orr, because I completely blame him, you know, he is the reason we went to video because when I went full time with Cowboy State Daily, I was doing writing stories and I was doing some I have another friend that I completely blame for getting me into video and behind and in front of a camera, but I was doing some video stories and things like that. And so then Jimmy said, "Hey, your radio news broadcast is great, but if we made it a video news broadcast, you'd get more people to click on it." I said, "Are you kidding? No, no, no. No." And finally he said, "We have to do this." And so I think it was in April. Oh my gosh, I think it's been a year.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Oh, I'm just understanding this. I
You're
think
just
it's been a
realizing.
year.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
that we've been doing Cowboy State Daily Video News. Anyway, dang nabbit, I hate it when Jimmy Orr is right, but he was right.
Yes.
And so we have become, like you say, we put the human factor, I think, now to
Mhm.
the news. It's not the people writing it. It's not even a voice on the radio reading it. It is putting a face to it, and not just my face, but the faces of the reporters.
Mhm.
Being able to have the reporters talk about the stories that they've been writing, and that the people that they've been meeting, and that's the value of the roundup too. I mean, tomorrow's roundup, the podcast is just so much fun. I've got an author on there she's got her name is Dana Volney, and she's a Casper author. And one of her novellas, she's written like 13 stories and books and things like that. One of her novellas is being made into a movie. And like Kathleen Quinlan is starring in this
Wow.
movie. Kathleen Quinlan and Michelle Hurd and my
Oh.
favorite Hallmark actress, Jen Lilly, a Hallmark movie actress. She's starring in it too. So, because we all have those guilty pleasures,
Oh,
right?
Hallmark, yeah.
Hallmark
Love it.
movies, cheesy Hallmark movies. But anyway, so being able to bring those faces and those voices to video to our audience, which is growing. I
Yes.
mean, it's amazing how much we're
Wow.
growing. And so it's just been really, like I say, it's been a transformation and it's not something that was not on my bingo card.
Well, you
I
you
was not.
do fantastic work, Wendy, and I know that that is something you mentioned you weren't used to, but I do have to say, I don't know if Jimmy is listening or he'll hear this, but you have to be really particular about who you choose to do something like that. I mean, they wake up your audience every single morning with that newscast that's on YouTube, on the website, right when you get up
Yep.
in the morning, and you need to be strategic about it. And they could not have picked a better person. Not only are you just a good human in general, but you just have that right disposition and that right delivery. So I love it, Wendy. I know it's different than just radio with no video, but like I said, he just could not have picked a better person, and you need to pick the right person for that. So good job.
Okay, I'm going to turn the tables on you because Shireen Herrera, you have been such a gift. You just kind of dropped into our world. It's like, yeah, let's get Shireen to sub in for Jake. And then we get you on here. It's like, oh, she's really good. And so just so that you know, I've had this conversation with Jimmy, and we are just so grateful, Shireen, and
Thank
how
you.
much you have just kind of gotten on because you have a gift for this. And again, I think that comes down to, and this is, could it be a life lesson? Could it be a bigger picture thing? I don't know. But I love the idea that when you find something that you're good at and people say, this is a good path for you and it feels good and you get that good feedback, you got to run with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
you really do. You have to run with it. And that's the part that I think is, again, big picture, running with the things that your gifts line you up with, and you've got a gift for this, and so we're so glad to have you here. And now we got to figure out how to keep you in our stable
Yes. Well,
when
Jake already asked me. Maybe I'll be filling in June at some point, but I'm not sure if he had too many margaritas in Mexico, and when he comes back, he won't want me to fill in for him. But yeah, I'm just glad to be a part of the group. I didn't really know, to be honest. The folks with Cowboy State Daily, I had seen you. I knew you were a great person. I knew of Claire McFarland. Of course, know Jake, and when he started in October, but I didn't quite understand the human beings behind all these stories and how great they are. And I feel like I just fit. I mean, I love my job where I work here in Fremont County. I love my business that I own, but I feel like I just fit with the Cowboy State Daily crew. And maybe it's just
you
easy
do.
because you guys are so great.
No, you do. 100%. We are so glad to have you with us. Even if it's temporary, we got to figure out how to keep you with us longer, and even if just on the fringes,
Yes,
to keep
yes.
you in this stable because you do a great job. But again, you're getting a chance, and the thing that's different with with a show, with Jake's show, with what you're doing now is you really get to have those in-depth conversations every day with not just the reporters, because I talk to the reporters every day, which I just love. I love seeing their faces and having that conversation with them. Say, hey, what's the news today? What interesting stories do you have today? And having them tell me about it. So keeps me connected with everybody else. But with you, and the things that this morning show does is not only do you talk to the reporters, but you talk to the news makers.
Hmm.
And like the gal that you were talking with this morning, who I mean, I want to know what book she wrote because I want to be able
I'll
to
send it
read
to
this
you.
book. Please
Yeah.
do, because I think that that's fascinating. These are the people and these are the things that it's worth having a longer conversation with. When with the video newscast, you get, a minute and a half.
Yep.
You get a minute and a half to talk about this topic, whereas you're getting a chance to really get in depth with these things. And I just think that's fun. What's some of the great stuff that you've been talking about this week?
Oh man, I had a mother and daughter travel team that they have a travel book, and it's escaping my brain right now, but she's in her 80s and the daughter is in her 60s, and they've traveled to 88 countries, and they're coming to Wyoming. Hopefully they want to come do something over here, it sounds like, and get some stories from folks in Wyoming. But that was kind of a cute, unique story for me because the mother or the grandmother, or well, I look at her as grandmother because she reminds me of my grandma, but the mom of the
Oh,
two, she was just talking about living this life and encouraging other folks. And she was like the original Instagram influencer without having Instagram, you know?
wow.
So yeah,
Oh my goodness. That's so great. I'm always looking for new podcast guests too. And so for me to be able to say, oh, I need to, I'm looking for these things and finding these interesting characters to be able to feature for, a half an hour on Saturdays is just so I'm getting some ideas from you
I'm going to
here.
connect you with them because they're actually looking to add some Wyoming stories to their book, their new book. And so
Yeah.
they need people to actually write them and send them in or find out more. So they need a little promotion on that, Wendy. So I'll send them over your way if that's okay. I'm writing a note.
Please do. Yes, please do.
Okay.
Because
All
that's
right.
fun. Travel is my other fun thing that I like to do that I don't get to do near often enough.
Good. That's what I was going to ask. But before we went here, what you like to do in your actual spare time, if you ever get spare time.
I don't get spare time. Well, we've got our music, the Dan Miller Cowboy Music Review in Cody, and we've been doing that this summer. We start in our summer season on May 22nd for our 21st season. 21 years of the Dan Miller Cowboy Music Review. And so we started again on the 22nd of May for that. And that's going to be another fun thing that I add to my day. And it's time management queen. You should listen to the podcast tomorrow, because the gal, this Dana Volney, not only is she an author, but she's also has an advertising, marketing consulting company. And so queen of time management. I'm like, yes, I'm co-queen on that.
I'm not good
all
at
the things that. Oh man. But yeah, so music is coming up, and that's always fun. And then and I'm the worship leader at my church. So that's always that's a rewarding thing. So those three things keep me
you
very,
busy?
very good. But when I get a chance, I go traveling. My kids are my favorite travel buddies to go.
Aww.
My son works at Disney World in Florida, and
That's
so
cool.
it's always a good time.
Well,
Yeah,
Wendy,
so
it was a
that's what I do.
pleasure chatting with you. I hate to end this call because I could chat with you. You're just a great lady. And so continue.
You and me have to have a coffee
Yes.
date, girl.
Yeah. Where are you located at? Or I don't know if you tell anybody that, but what area
Oh
of
no,
Wyoming?
up here in Northwest Wyoming,
Okay.
and our show is based out of Cody.
Okay.
And so
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there for the WAB convention the first week of June. So I'm going to come see if you can steal away for a minute.
Absolutely. I'll meet you there.
Okay. Sounds good.
100%.
Thanks, Wendy.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Shireen.
Bye-bye.
Wyoming is a big state. There's so much ground to cover, so many stories to tell. But the Cowboy State Daily News team is up to the challenge. I'm Wendy Core, host of Cowboy State Daily Video News. Whether it's politics in Cheyenne, energy issues in the Powder River Basin, or grizzlies in Yellowstone, our talented crew of experienced journalists are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. What's the best restaurant in DuBois? Renee Jean checks it out. What's the most recent Supreme Court decision mean to our everyday lives? Claire McFarland explains. How is the upcoming elk hunting season shaping up? Mark Hines lets us know. Every day, I talk to the reporters who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites, and in our daily newscast, I bring you those stories. Tune into the Cowboy State Daily video newscast every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com. You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Who can you turn to for news you can trust? Your local TV and radio broadcasters. You trust us to keep you safe during times of crisis and to deliver the weather, sports, and entertainment you rely on every day. We bring you the facts you need to make decisions that matter. And as misinformation floods social media, you can trust your local stations to deliver the truth. Text TV to 52886 and tell Congress you rely on your local stations for trusted news.
You handle the healthcare, we'll handle the marketing. In need of a spark for marketing your medical practice? Loom Studio provides creative and strategic healthcare marketing that illuminates the path to bigger and better experiences for your business and your patients. We specialize in branding and design, social media, website design, SEO and SEM, not to mention content creation, public and media relations, and marketing metrics to ensure you're getting results. If you're looking to increase your patient engagement and retention, enhance your community impact, and streamline your marketing efforts, our team is ready to help you achieve your goals. Contact us today and learn more at loomstudio.com.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Friday, April 4th. From the Cowboy State Daily Newsroom, I'm Wendy Core. From the moment an on-the-job accident all but ruined Laramie firefighter Dylan Schilt's body, he's been determined to get back the full use of it. The 32-year-old was crushed when a massive stone fireplace chase collapsed on him and another firefighter responding to a house fire at the end of February. He suffered a broken back, shattered ankle, and collapsed lung, and was left temporarily paralyzed from the waist down. But Schilt told Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines he knew he would walk again.
They determined that his spinal cord was not severed. He did suffer some bruising and scarring on the spinal cord, so it's been rough, but he told me today that he now has feeling in both his legs, and they're working on it. They're getting to the point where he's trying to walk again and learn some balance. He told me he's determined. He wants to go back to doing everything, including being a firefighter.
Schilt's been doing several hours of physical therapy a day, focusing mostly on learning to walk and balance again and strengthening atrophied muscles. He said his accident and recovery have brought him an appreciation for the ties that bind together first responders as well as good people in general. When 15-year-old Roxton Looking Bill didn't catch any fish Wednesday evening on the Wind River, he started walking back toward his grandmother's house along a little dirt road, and something caught his eye. It was a small toolbox and surprisingly heavy. But Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that when Looking Bill opened the box, he didn't find a set of sockets or tools. He found 4 hand grenades.
They did call police, and then there was a huge alarm, and the bomb squad came down from Natrona County and took them. And so just very dramatic, and they had to reassure the neighbors that the grandma was okay. We just found grenades. It looked like every single dad in Wyoming was in the comments saying the blue spoon or handle signifies that these are training grenades. Joey Correnti, who was actually an explosives instructor in the Army, was like, you know what? Yes, blue signifies training, but you don't know where these came from. You didn't load or empty them yourself, so still ultimate caution, call the police.
Correnti said he was glad the Riverton situation ended as calmly as it did, but looking at the rusted box, he suggested the teen might want to get a tetanus shot. A Hudson man will go to federal prison for at least the next 10 years of his life after pleading guilty Thursday to possessing child pornography. 58-year-old Sean Brennan pleaded guilty to the charge in U.S. District Court in Cheyenne on Thursday. Cowboy State Daily's Leah Wolfson reports that this is Brennan's second child porn conviction.
The first event occurred about 20 years ago. Brennan was actually apprehended while video vigilantes were apprehending him for kind of a sting operation, with him attempting to meet up with a minor, a fake minor, basically. Because of that vigilante sting, he was found by federal agents a little bit later to have child pornography in his possession. And that's what we were in attendance for in the courtroom on Thursday.
Brennan has been in custody at the Scottsbluff County Detention Center in Nebraska since his federal arrest. He'll remain there until his sentencing. I'll be back with more news right after this.
Are you fabulous and 55? Are you ready to use your valuable time and talent to give back? Join Serve Wyoming through the AmeriCorps Seniors Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP, and make a positive impact on your community. With a lifetime of skills and experiences, you're exactly what your community needs. Whether you're itching to lend a hand or your organization could use some extra support, we've got you covered. Call Sarah Roberts at Serve Wyoming at 307-234-3428 or RSVP at servewyoming.org.
Once again, Bob the Barrel is on thin ice. Between now and early May, everyone in Pinedale will eagerly await the time and date when the bright yellow barrel breaks through the nearly 2-foot-thick layer of ice on Fremont Lake and bobs back to shore. It's the Pinedale Lions Club annual Fremont Lake Ice Off Guess. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that the Barrel Guess is one of the Pinedale Lions' longest-running fundraisers, a tradition that goes back to at least 1940.
The idea is the Pinedale Lions Club sells tickets where people guess the exact date and time when Bob the Barrel makes landfall. Now, the thing of it is, they sell hundreds of tickets for this, but your ticket is still valid until the next guess. So let's say if you guess 5 p.m. on April 27th, which is within the window of when Bob typically makes landfall, the next guess might be May 1st at 3 a.m., but if there's no guesses in between there, you could still win the $500 prize.
The most likely time for the ice to come off Fremont Lake is between the last week of April and the first week of May. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting the daily newsletter button on cowboystatedaily.com. I'm Wendy Corr for Cowboy State Daily.
I had had a pretty normal mom life. Everything was pretty good, and it was a very happy life.
And we just had a new baby. And then all of a sudden, within a day or two, she's on life support and fighting for her life.
They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
The American Heart Association funds research that leads to medical breakthroughs, trains people in CPR, and certifies hospitals to provide the best care for people who've had a heart attack or stroke.
I am very thankful for the American Heart Association.
One simple act today can save your life or the life of a loved one.
Heart disease is the #1 killer in America. To learn more about how the American Heart Association is saving lives, go to helpheart.org.
Welcome back to another morning Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake. I've had a great time, some great guests, and just a little bittersweet that this is my last 45 minutes here with you folks. And again, appreciate the encouragement. Big shoes to fill. Jake Nichols is just a fantastic guy, a hardworking individual. And he does an amazing job on the show. So I'm looking forward to him being back because this is a little out of my norm when it comes to my normal work day. I'm not used to being on video. I'm a radio DJ, so a lot of times I have theater of the mind and I can use my words to paint a picture. And now you have the picture here, but I was able to bring a lot of my cool stuff. I have my Steelers Beanie Baby here. Got my Wyoming license plate. I also have this is my fiance's Elway bobblehead, not mine. I'm not a Broncos fan. I'm an Elway fan though. I remember visiting him at Elway Auto when I was about 6 years old. I also have an Idaho Steelhead bobblehead, but his head kind of broke off. But I used to live in Boise and support any kind of hockey I can, anyways. But they have the Idaho Steelheads there, so yeah, I just have been really enjoying being here, to be honest with you, but I am looking forward to Jake being back and some normalcy when it comes to the show here with Cowboy State Daily. Hey, if you missed it, something we love to support is our rodeo report.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Will Rasmussen. Another conversation today with two-time and reigning world champion Riley Webb from Denton, Texas, only 21 years old, former Resistol Rookie of the Year. We talk about his significant other, Josie Connor, who is a National Finals Rodeo breakaway roper. That conversation on the Roadshow coming up next.
Ranchers Wednesday, April 9th is the 51st annual Pass Creek Angus Ranch production sale at the ranch just south of Wyola, Montana. This year selling 80 yearling and 27 fall Angus bulls out of sires like Vermilion Bomber and GAR Hometown. 7 stout 2-year-old bulls and 25 open commercial heifers also sell. Pass Creek breeds low maintenance cattle that muscle up with quality carcasses. View videos at BillPelton.com. Sale time is 1 o'clock, also carried live on Frontier Live Sale. For more information, visit PassCreekAngus.com.
The American Lamb Board wants 2025 to be the best year yet for education. Lamb Checkoff funded programs include workshops and summits aimed at equipping sheep producers with the necessary tools and resources to profitably grow their operations. Like the American Lamb Summit, July 22nd through 25th, University of Idaho in Moscow. Event highlights include defining lamb quality and hitting carcass targets and increasing production efficiency. Learn more and register at lambboard.com.
Talk about not only are you a star, but your significant other has gone to a national finals rodeo or two in the breakaway roping. Talk about Josie Connor.
Yes, sir. My girlfriend, Josie Connor, she's been kicking butt for a while now. We got to our rookie year was the same year. We both won the Rookie of the Year, and we made the NFR the last couple of years. So that's been really cool. But we got the same goal to win the World Championships, and I think you'll be seeing hers here pretty quick and in the future. We get the rope every day and work at it together, and we got the same goals. So that's really cool.
That is really cool. Riley Webb, the two-time world champion, his girlfriend Josie Connor from Iowa, Louisiana, has been to the last 3 national finals rodeos in the breakaway roping. Last year, she finished number 3 in the world, and that's exactly where she sits in 2025 in search of her first gold buckle. Our thanks to Riley Webb, 3-time national finalist, 2-time and reigning world champion, for being on the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
Thank you for listening. Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake. Jake will be back on Monday. I appreciate your support. And remember, you can subscribe to the newsletter, cowboystatedaily.com. It's up in the right-hand corner. You can stay in the know on news stories, what's going on in different parts of Wyoming, and of course, always an update with the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. Also, tomorrow morning, Mr. John Baggs will have his Saturday morning show with Cowboy State Daily. That starts at 6 a.m. He has his son Alex on as his first guest, and both of his sons, complete opposites, but sound super fascinating. And so he'll have some great guests. I know that I want to tune in early tomorrow, but I'm an early bird. So if you're like me and you're up early, I'm up early every morning. One of those crazy people. I'm asleep by 8:30 and I'm texting you back at 5:30. Just how I roll. But if you're like me, tune in to the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show tomorrow morning and find out a little bit more about John's son, who lives a very interesting life overseas. So I know I'll be tuning in for that. Again, tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 a.m., the new Cowboy State Daily Saturday morning show hosted by John Baggs. So again, tomorrow morning, like I mentioned with that newsletter, if you subscribe, you'll stay in the know on that. This weekend for me, I'm going to rest later on. It has definitely been a little bit out of my norm to be on video and live, and so many guests and so many elements with the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. But I think that is just a testament to a great product and the great news that they put out. So I love it. I'm here for it. I can't wait to tune in to Jake and see how his vacation was over his spring break and see how things were for him on Monday morning. But I know I'll be watching the Final Four for March Madness. I'm kind of a sports junkie. I actually got my start in radio calling high school football for an ESPN radio station and affiliate in Whitefish, Montana, ESPN 1240 SAM. I called for the Whitefish Bulldogs, Whitefish, Montana. And lo and behold, after my first game as a fill-in, I filled in for a gentleman named Paul Biolo, and Paul Biolo's father played for the Green Bay Packers back in the 40s, the early years, and his father was inducted into the Hall of Fame in Green Bay. And so they didn't have anybody to call color for the high school football team that weekend. It was a game in October or the first part of November. I can't remember when he was heading to the Hall of Fame induction in Green Bay, but they said, hey, you're running your lips like you know what you're talking about with football. How about you come under the lights on Friday night for Friday Night Lights, and we put you live on the radio and see how you do. And I said, I was 19 at the time, give me that microphone. I'll do it. Yeah. And this was on a Monday night. I was at a football game, actually, an NFL game at a bar that they were showing. And so that Friday night, so it was just 4 days fast, mind you, later that we had the game to call, and they gave me that microphone, and boy, oh boy, I called that game, and they offered me a job that night, basically, on the number one morning show in the Flathead Valley, the Bear Morning Country Club on 106.3 The Bear. But I got my start calling high school sports. I continued to call color and a little play-by-play. I tried my hand at basketball. I was terrible. And then I did a lot of baseball PA as well. So I'm a big sports fan. I haven't been a big basketball fan in general, but I do love some March Madness. So we have the Final Four tomorrow night, and I'm second place in my bracket. I can't believe it. It's I don't know a lot about college basketball. I just kind of picked to pick, and a lot of times in the bracket, one year a lady won our bracket, and hundreds of people enter it here locally. And she was like, I just randomly picked. I just didn't even look. I just picked, and she won the whole thing. So you never know on March Madness and the bracket challenges, but we have the Final Four tomorrow night. We have Florida and Auburn, and Duke and Houston. Yeah, that's it. Florida and Auburn, Duke and Houston, and I have Florida and Duke in the big dance. But unfortunately, I have Florida winning, and I feel like if Florida and Duke go to the big dance together, just from what I've seen, that Duke may be playing a little bit better. And so Duke might actually win that thing. So, hey, it's been so much fun being here. It's a Friday. I hope you have something maybe fun planned for the weekend. We have, by the way, just over 2 inches of snow, maybe 3. I have to get my handy dandy ruler out or tape measure. Central Wyoming. Yeah, things look a little different than I thought. When I got up this morning, I thought, hey, we've got a little dusting. I thought it would blow off and melt off. And no, here we almost have 3 inches of snow. And I think Don Day said areas of Devil's Tower reporting 7 inches of snow. Hey, it's the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake.
Want to stay in touch with what's happening around Wyoming? I'm Wendy Core, host of the Cowboy State Daily video newscast. From Mountain View to Upton, from Jackson to Cheyenne, our reporters are out there finding and telling the stories that matter. Every day, I talk to the talented journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, I bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily video news every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
Wyoming is a big state. There are so many stories to tell, and here at Cowboy State Daily, we pride ourselves in bringing those stories to you every day. I'm Riley Strand, videographer and production assistant for Cowboy State Daily Video News. Every day, host Wendy Core and I talk to the experienced journalists who are covering the topics, issues, and people that are important to Wyomingites. And in our daily newscast, we bring you their stories. Tune in to Cowboy State Daily Video News every morning, only on CowboyStateDaily.com.
This is the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker. New from Be Normal.
This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
Nestled between Casper Mountain and the North Platte River, you'll find the heart of Wyoming. With a bustling downtown centered around our outdoor haven, Casper is for adventurers, freedom seekers, and rule breakers who find beauty off the beaten path. So if touchable history, a vibrant community, and uninterrupted outdoor recreation define your travel itinerary, allow us to welcome you to the one and only Casper, Wyoming. Plan your trip at visitcasper.com.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy. It's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is being prepared for the journey ahead. Love doesn't let any concerns go unsaid. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax. It always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Love protects.
Well, we have about just under 3 inches of snow at my place. I'm in central Wyoming. Good morning. Shireen Herrera filling in for Jake on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I wasn't quite certain how much snow we would get. Don says, though, by Sunday, things will look a little different and we'll be enjoying some warmer weather. But for folks who are traveling around, maybe coming back from spring break trips, make sure you're driving safe. 2 hands on the wheel, 2 eyes on the road. And looking at that this weekend, things starting to look nicer on Sunday, Thursday, Friday of next week. Dawn mentions about some warm weather and then another cold front kind of moving in. Don would not put his neck out on the line. Don's a smart weatherman. I asked him what he thought Easter would hold for us. because we never know. And he said, I'm not doing that. I'm not falling for that, Shireen. No, absolutely not. I will not predict or even say. He said, there's a chance there's snow and there's a chance there's 70. I said, way to cover your bases. That's a good weatherman right there, a good meteorologist. But no, I know a lot of people, for some reason, seem like the number one thing people are always complaining about is the weather on social media, and sometimes they end up blaming or saying it's the weather person's fault or the meteorologist, and that's just plain simple not the case. So appreciate Don, though, jumping on the show every morning. And this is my last morning filling in for Jake. He'll be back on Monday. But of course, Don Day always joining the show. Also, that Day Weather podcast. You can listen to that and to be able to hear more from Don on what's happening in the weather. I'd love to get Don on to try to tell some old weather stories too. And I'd love to get him. We have a meteorologist here in town, and then another guy that I've been chatting with on Instagram is Jim Cantori with the Weather Channel. I'd love to get those three together and just try to do an interview with them because they're just so interesting. But Jim, of course, is super famous. Don's super famous. And Dave is a local celebrity here in central Wyoming. So I have a dream to do a weather interview with those three. I feel like I would have to go to some sort of weather convention to be able to do that, though. So it's always great having Don on the show here, where you get a chance to kind of know a little bit more from him and hear from him. He jumps on the news with Wendy Core. He also has his Day Weather podcast, but it's so cool that you could tune in right here to Cowboy State Daily on YouTube, on the website, cowboystatedaily.com, and on Facebook and socials, and be able to hear a little bit more from Don, and even can send in questions. Maybe you have something, you can reach out to Cowboy State Daily and send those questions in. Hey, I wanted to invite you to an event, although I think I'm still emceeing it. I'm pretty sure I am. But even if I'm not, it's a really fun weekend. It's the WOW weekend with Wyoming Game and Fish. That's coming up May 16th and 17th. May 16th is a Friday, so a lot of people can't travel in for that. But last year, we actually had a lot of folks that traveled from Casper and Cody that came down to Lander for the weekend to bring their kids for the WOW weekend, which is the Wyoming Outdoor Weekend. And this weekend is really all about every age. They have something for everybody. But one of my favorite things is the turkey calling competition. That's for the kids, and that gets hilarious. But there's all kinds of fun things that you can do and involve yourself in, from different seminars and hands-on stuff to arts and crafts things. They have a huge raffle auction as well. And so if you can try to partake in that WOW weekend, May 16th and 17th. And again, I'll be emceeing that. And if I'm not emceeing, I'll be out. It's at the Lander Community and Convention Center. That WOW weekend is on May 16th and May 17th. So that's just a little event I wanted to invite you to, since I'm filling in for Jake on the Cowboy State Daily morning show. And let's head to the Zoom room. Hello. Nate, you there? You're frozen. We'll see if he gets unfrozen. Hey, Nate, can you hear me? He might not have good Wi-Fi wherever he's located at, but we'll get Nate on here momentarily. And Nate, of course, with the NRA and Friends of the NRA. Excited to chat with him and find out some more on what's going on in the world of the NRA. We had Nate on, but I couldn't get it. I wasn't sure if his microphone was completely clear last time. Nate, you there? All right. Well, we're going to get Nate on here just momentarily and see if we can get the Zoom room working. Nate, you there? All right. That's the fun of technology. Sometimes it's your best friend or your worst enemy. In this case, it's your worst enemy. But no, it'd be great. He's also one of my favorite people, and the Friends of the NRA doing some really cool stuff. So and they're one of the longest organizations. So I love talking about what they have going on here. So it's a Friday, gearing up for the weekend. Maybe you have plans with the kids. Maybe you're coming back from spring break, maybe March Madness. Maybe you're heading to the Echoes of the Tracks event in Laramie with Kevin Monteith and the Monteith crew there and the Muley Fanatic Foundation. Yeah, definitely make sure you partake in something fun. Something fun here, and we'll be back just momentarily. And thanks for listening. It's the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show.
From Yellowstone to Devil's Tower, the Bighorn Mountains to the Teton Range, Cheyenne to Sheridan, Rawlins to Ralston, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show covers the state like no other radio show or podcast. We love Lovell. We're eager to share the stories of Story. We'll crow about Crowheart and yodel over Yoder. Whether you make your home in Sweetwater, Chugwater, Powder River, or Green River, the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show will make you feel right at home. Jeffrey City, Atlantic City, we see you. Little America, Big Piney, you're on our radar. Howdy, Wapiti, Meeteetse, Shoshone, Ten Sleep, good morning, welcome, Torrington, Riverton, Wheatland, Lusk, Lingle, Lander, Timber, Casey, Kerwin, Moorcroft, Mountain View, Moose, Fort Bridger, Fort Laramie, Fort Washington, Panda, Hudson, Hewlett, Dayton, Daniel, and DuBois. We are east of Weston, west of Midwest, north of Newcastle, and south of Sundance. Border to border, we love Wyoming and every one of its communities, bar none.
You're listening to the Cowboy State Daily Radio Network.
Wyoming is a place of unlimited potential, a place that inspires us to dream. Since 2014, Wyo Lotto has given back over $180 million to our great state through transfers, winnings, commissions, and more. Dollars that have gone directly into your cities, towns, and counties. Dollars that have changed lives and set dreams in motion. Thank you, Wyoming, for a legendary 10 years. We can't wait to dream up what's next.
Year after year, we continue to serve new neighbors across our state.
For over 40 years, our trust and wealth management services have grown our roots in Casper.
And now we're excited to have offices in 3 Wyoming cities.
We're here to help you achieve your financial goals
and provide the kind of service that you expect from a Wyoming business.
Because at Hilltop Bank, community means Wyoming.
One more time before you wake up in the wild. In your eyes, I see a flower slowly dying.
Together with the Nature Conservancy, you have the power to make a difference. For unspoiled nature, for beautiful wildlife, and for people everywhere. Together, we can find a way to ensure that all life on Earth can thrive.
Oh, in the wild, you're gonna make it. The moonlight is here to take you.
Our natural world needs us now. Every day, we lose more lands, waters, and the wild species that depend on them. To learn more, visit nature.org today.
Welcome back, folks. Shireen Herrera filling in Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. Glad to be here on this 4th of April. Nate Brown with the NRA joining. Nate, did I get you connected?
I'm here, but I'm trying to get my window to open up again. Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. You don't have to have video on. I can hear you just perfect, so it's great. I like
All
to...
right, perfect.
Yes, I have officially dubbed you NRA Nate. How's it going today?
It's going really good. It's a nice snowy day in Fremont County. I'm here with my buddy Drake Robinson. He's right here in the truck. He says he knows you, Shireen. He said you talked about some fair stuff with him one time.
Oh.
You want to say hi to Fremont County, Drake?
Hi.
Say hi loud.
Hi.
Hi, buddy. Oh, now...
I've got a couple helpers helping me do some trailer clearing. We're moving all of the NRA banquet material over from Laramie to Riverton. so I can get it in a storage facility and get ready to do a bunch of banquets across the state, Shereen.
Well, if before we get off the interview here, if we can turn on the video to put Drake on, I would love for folks to see him. But I know you're busy, Nate, and you have some big plans now that you are officially the Wyoming and South Dakota Friends of the NRA guy.
Yeah, it's I'm pretty stoked. I got to attend the Great Basin event in Rawlins last weekend. Great crew down there. Got to meet a lot of folks. Senator Barrasso even popped in for a minute. It was good to see him. But yeah, the NRA and the Friends of the NRA program is an awesome program in Wyoming that's been around since the early '90s, nationwide. They started it to support the NRA Foundation, which is completely separate from the NRA itself. But anyway, I'm sorry about that. But the long story short, the Friends of the NRA has contributed grant funds to 4-H shooting sports in the way of support materials such as rifles, safes, and ammunition. Um,
Did I lose you, Nate? You there? Nate, you there? Next time I might have lost you. Oh man, I wanted to see that young kid that was there. He sounded adorable. Nate, if you can hear me, call back because we want to find out more with the Friends of the NRA and the crew. Oh, there he is. Okay. Hey, Drake. Can you hear me? Nate, we can't hear him. Oh, there's the dog. There's Atticus. Nate, we can't see you or hear you now. Nate, I don't know what happened to your audio. Go back to just the audio. Oh man, that little kid, I do remember him from the Fremont County Fair.
Yep.
There you are. Okay, well, we can't see you, but Drake, are you there still, bud?
Yep.
Okay, I can hear you now. So unfortunately, Nate needs a new phone. But are you going to be at the fair this summer?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, what are you doing?
Horses.
Cool. I barely get to talk to the horse kids. I'm always talking to somebody with pigs, steers. We chatted though, you said last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know folks couldn't see you, but for a moment I saw you and you look just great with your cowboy hat on and your outfit this morning, buddy.
Thanks.
I told him it's not really straw hat weather, but sorry about the audio and video not working conjoined very
Yeah,
well. But
that's okay.
back to the
Hear
Friends
you great.
program though. Yeah, one of the big things they do also, this funding goes to improve shooting ranges all across our state. So youth have places to have competitions, and then we also support law enforcement with critical things that they need to keep us safe. Another big thing that happens is support for ROTC programs out of Casper with precision rifles, so that they can compete at the national level. Trap clubs, skeet clubs, all kinds of different events like that across the state of Wyoming and nationwide. So, I just want to encourage everyone to check out the Friends of the NRA.org. It's just friends of NRA.org. Learn more about the program and learn more about what's available in both your local areas and across the state and the nation, because there's some really cool things going on to get people outside, teach them how to shoot, teach them how to shoot safely, and to enjoy the recreation that Wyoming has and that firearms provide, as well as protection. So it's just a really cool thing. There's been right coming.
Oh, we lost you again, Nate. Can you hear me? might have lost service. He was driving, I think, or they had pulled over probably in a location. As anybody knows, if you travel in central Wyoming, trying to find a good spot for service is never easy, especially because I'm always talking about 2 hands on the wheel, 2 eyes on the road. So if you are going to make a call or anything that's in depth, like something like this, you want to make sure that you're pulled over on the side of the road. And when you do so, in central Wyoming, the service is never the greatest, so we'll get Nate back on here in just a moment.
It's the Rodeo Roadshow on the Western Ag Network. Hi, everybody. I'm Will Rasmussen. Another conversation today with 2-time and reigning world champion Riley Webb from Denton, Texas. Only 21 years old, former Resistol Rookie of the Year. We talk about his significant other, Josie Connor, who is a National Finals Rodeo breakaway roper. That conversation on the Roadshow coming up next.
Ranchers Wednesday, April 9th is the 51st annual Pass Creek Angus Ranch production sale at the ranch just south of Wyola, Montana. This year selling 80 yearling and 27 fall Angus bulls out of sires like Vermilion Bomber and GAR Hometown. 7 stout 2-year-old bulls and 25 open commercial heifers also sell. Pass Creek breeds low-maintenance cattle that muscle up with quality carcasses. View videos at BillPelton.com. Sale time is 1 o'clock, also carried live on Frontier Live Sale. For more information, visit PassCreekAngus.com.
The American Lamb Board wants 2025 to be the best year yet for education. Lamb Checkoff funded programs include workshops and summits aimed at equipping sheep producers with the necessary tools and resources to profitably grow their operations. Like the American Lamb Summit, July 22nd through 25th, University of Idaho in Moscow. Event highlights include defining lamb quality and hitting carcass targets and increasing production efficiency. Learn more and register at lambboard.com.
Talk about not only are you a star, but your significant other has gone to a national finals rodeo or two in the breakaway roping. Talk about Josie Connor.
Yes, sir. My girlfriend, Josie Connor, she's been kicking butt for a while now. We got to our rookie year was the same year. We both won the Rookie of the Year, and we made the NFR the last couple of years. So that's been really cool. But we got the same goal to win the World Championships, and I think you'll be seeing hers here pretty quick and in the future. We get the rope every day and work at it together, and we got the same goals. So that's really cool.
That is really cool. Riley Webb, the 2-time world champion, his girlfriend Josie Connor from Iowa, Louisiana, has been to the last 3 national finals rodeos in the breakaway roping. Last year, she finished number 3 in the world, and that's exactly where she sits in 2025 in search of her first gold buckle. Our thanks to Riley Webb, 3-time national finalist, 2-time and reigning world champion, for being on the Rodeo Roadshow. I'm Will Rasmussen on the Western Ag Network.
Thanks for listening to the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen filling in for Jake, gearing up for the first weekend of April. Things are a little dicey in some areas of the state. We have about 2.5 inches, but we still have some snow dropping, but not as much as it was, but it's still coming down just a little bit here in central Wyoming. So we'll have Dawn's forecast coming up here in just a moment. But Dawn mentioned could be areas that aren't experiencing any adverse conditions today, and then other areas are experiencing a lot more than others. And so we actually are halting a trip we had up South Pass to the Rock Shop Inn, hoping to reschedule that because the lady and I that are driving up, we both are in agreement that we don't want to be driving on South Pass in the conditions, and they'll get better by tomorrow. But we don't really want to chance it when it comes to driving on South Pass. And so we have opted with moving that trip to South Pass and being able to hopefully not drive on the weather or the roads in South Pass. Nate, you are back and you look great. I can see you. It's not pixelated.
Can you hear me now?
I can. It's beautiful. Oh yes, you got just some better.
I'm not gonna support any particular cell phone company, but That's a familiar phrase in Wyoming. Can you hear me now?
Yep. Can you hear me now? Finding service in Wyoming, especially in the rural areas, which is where Nate lives, it's not always easy. But Nate, I really appreciate you getting on. I think I just wanted to mention real quick before I lose you or we mess up again, in case the friends of the NRA folks are listening or the NRA crew, they could not have chosen a better person for this job. Nate knows everybody. And Nate, much like myself, is in agreement on really bridging the gap between not only, landowners and the public, but also people who don't understand shooting or hunting with the people that do. And so, Nate, they just could not have picked a better person to be leading the way for Wyoming and South Dakota.
Well, thank you very much, Shereen. It's not about me. It's just about a great place. We live in a great place, and this is a great state to be in, and the freedoms that Wyoming enjoys. One of the main ones is the Second Amendment and the ability to defend yourself, protect yourself, and then also just to enjoy the great outdoors, feed your family. It's unbelievable how available protein is in our state. Shereen's quite the fly fisherman, and spends a lot of time on the waters of Wyoming catching fish, hunting. It's just amazing to be able to provide food for yourself and just the empowerment that Wyoming provides. And the NRA and the Second Amendment's a big part of that. If we didn't have our Second Amendment rights, we wouldn't have the ability to do that. So I'm stoked to be a part of this state's NRA program. The Friends of the NRA is all about getting people involved in the outdoors and in shooting sports, and especially in our own local areas. So it's pretty cool that we have the ability to do that. There's some awesome folks involved all across the state. Events coming up are Gillette, and also up in Sheridan. And then I'm working on getting some other charters. So if anybody in Wyoming, anywhere in the state of Wyoming that is interested in becoming an NRA member or becoming a Friends of the NRA banquet committee chairperson, please contact me. Look up friendsoftheNRA.org, learn more about the program. My number and phone and email, I'm working on getting that. I'll see if Shereen can get that out there where we can provide it for folks.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to talk to you if you're interested in a committee or chairing a committee or just being a committee member or a volunteer in your own community. I'd love to hear from you. Fact is, the easiest way to contact me is probably just my email. It's just my first letter and my last name. So nbrown@nrahq.org. So yeah, shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from anyone and everybody that has ideas about a committee or getting a banquet event in their local area going. It'd be great.
Well,
So
volunteer.
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, volunteerism is a big push, Nate. We need more
we talked about
volunteers.
that last.
Yeah.
We talked about that last time, and that's what this is all about. I don't have any kids of my own, but I love kids. Guys like Drake are just awesome to spend time with, and I love getting kids outdoors and showing them the outdoors. We're running over here to do a couple things on the ranch, and then we're going to go into town and finish unloading all of our banquet material. So pretty cool gig.
Well, that's awesome. You have Drake.
Happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's awesome. You have Drake with you and Atticus there. Drake, you're just cute.
I'll let Drake say a quick thing about what do you like about going outdoors and being outdoors in Wyoming, Drake?
Just being outside and having fun with the family and hanging out with the family. And just the enjoyment that you have with hanging out with the people that you love.
Drake, how old are you?
Isn't that cool?
How old is he?
12.
Oh my goodness, you're wise
12.
beyond your years, young man.
He's a pretty smart little cowboy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and he's cuter to look at than you, Nate. So put him back. But no, Nate, I think something worth being said here real quick is what you just talked about. Neither you or I have kids, and I probably won't have kids, and that might be the same for you. But here you are with Drake, taking him to instill some values. Obviously, that's important to his parents. It really starts there, Nate, even for those of you that are watching that don't have kids. And if you do have kids, it might be a little easier for you to get involved.
That's exactly right. I'm all about that, and I think that's how you promote volunteerism, is by getting out there and getting involved with people and with their kids, and just promoting the idea of doing something for someone else, someone other than yourself, is pretty cool. And the big picture is we have to perpetuate the ideals that we have in Wyoming. So exactly right, Shereen. I'm tickled to be a part of this organization and to have the opportunity to do that. There's something pretty amazing about doing something that is rewarding. And all I have to say is this has been pretty rewarding, and it's only my third day, so pretty awesome.
Awesome. Well, Nate, you're salt of the earth. I can't wait to hear how things are going for NRA Nate. And Drake, I expect to see you this summer when I'm at the fair in Riverton, okay?
Okay.
And if I don't see you, if I see you before, come say hi to me, okay?
Okay.
All right, you two have fun. Don't work too hard, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Wow, that was great to have NRA Nate with Friends of the NRA, and then little Drake there. Drake is he's the first kid I've had on the show here, so I didn't really think about that. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I should have had Drake on, earlier and talking about what he does for volunteering and conservation at 12 years old. So it's been just fantastic having some of the guests we've had. Big shout out to Patrick Edwards, Angling Wisdom. We had him on talking about fishing. A big push for him, too, is instilling that in children and helping kids out. As you just heard from Nate and the NRA, Friends of the NRA, big push, too, to get kids involved. Joshua Corsi, Muley Fanatic Foundation, a big push too, volunteerism and being active and really starting that at home. And so there's kind of a theme here, folks, and I won't go on too long about it, but the theme is it doesn't have to be conservation, but ways that we can encourage the youth to give back and make that a part of their routine and make it a habit. My grandma, from the moment I could volunteer when I was old enough or not old enough to get out and be working for a better cause. And it was always animals for my grandma. She loved animals. She helped run an animal shelter in Billings, HHP, for a long time. And so that was how she kind of instilled to me. And she also told me, if you want a good job, you need to start volunteering at a young age, because the network that you will build is, just unimaginable. And I'm here to tell you that is true. So if you've been listening and hearing this common theme about being active, whether it's in conservation or whatever, I hope you can take a little lesson from some of the guests we've had on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. I'm Shireen, filling in for Jake on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show.
Welcome to Friday, TGIF. It's April 4th, 2025. Your Day Weather podcast brought to you by ConverseCountyTourism.com. Feel the energy of Converse County. Explore Douglas's railroad heritage, Ayers Natural Bridge, and the Jackalope legend. Glen Rock boasts scenic trails, dinosaur history, and small town charm. Plan your visit at ConverseCountyTourism.com. Well, the cold is going to linger for a bit longer here. Warmer weather's coming. We will revert from the wintry weather pattern to more of a spring one. But we've kind of got to get through the weekend, as this broad, slow-moving area of low pressure will continue to keep things unsettled, with rain and snow chances in the region through Saturday. A lot of you will see the last of the rain and snow shower activity today, but for the southern areas, New Mexico, southern Colorado, into West Texas, Kansas, you're going to have the rain and snow continue into the weekend there as the southern part of the trough rolls through. Now we're back to what we call dirty high pressure and warmer temperatures next week. Now you're going to say, well, what is dirty high pressure? I'll explain that here in a moment. But it's high pressure, so a warmer, more spring-like weather pattern is going to return as we get into next week. However, because it's a dirty high pressure ridge, still there's going to be some possible chances of some scattered showers and even thunderstorms in portions of the northern and central Rockies next week. The next larger shift back to cooler, unsettled weather and better precipitation chances will come sometime next weekend, but a lot of variability in the computer modeling once we get past 6 days. So let's say the pattern for next weekend is something that we still have to determine. Taking a look at some photos from yesterday, shower activity developed late yesterday afternoon and evening, and then overnight in some areas. It was rain, it was snow, it was some thunder. There you can see some showers there in western Nebraska. The dark skies up in northern Wyoming with this next impending trough coming on through. Beautiful scene there along the North Platte River near Glen Rock with the frosted trees and, well, the calm waters, at least for that moment. Now, when we take a look at the surface map for the USA today, looks a lot like yesterday. We've got the severe weather and the very heavy rain focused in this area here, and this is going to continue well into the weekend where a lot of flooding and severe weather will be taking place. Here's the next cold front sweeping through the region, and there is going to be some weather coming in behind it. When we look at the satellite imagery here in a moment, you can really see that. These are the advisories. We've got flood watches, flood warnings. These are flash flood warnings for a large swath of the nation's midsection. This is winter weather advisories. Winter storm watches in effect for northeast New Mexico. Weather advisories for winter conditions into the Texas Panhandle. Then up along the cold front, some winter weather advisories for the northern areas. You can see the bright clouds from the cluster of showers and thunderstorms that are going through the same area. And there's going to be the reformation of these showers and thunderstorms today, tomorrow, and Sunday in the same area. Hence the flooding concerns. The next trough coming in up from the northern areas, dragging a cold front through here, is what will be producing scattered rain and snow showers across the central and northern Rockies today. It's kind of easier to see in the water vapor loop where we've got the low down here near the Four Corners area, then the low up here, and you can see the moisture flow is just coming on in and getting directed towards there. Since we have a split low pattern, we're not able to bring back this moisture here westward into the high plains if these two had gotten their act together. So that's why the channeling, the focusing of the deeper moisture and the heavy rain and the flooding in the central United States is occurring there. And you can really see that at the 500 millibar pattern. You might say, well, I don't see a low pressure system here. I don't see what the deal is. Why is there such heavy rain? Well, if you just watch the big pattern, the big picture, so to speak, the clockwise circulation around the high is drawing up deep moisture from the lower latitudes, and the counterclockwise rotation around the low they're working in unison. So basically, we have an atmospheric river of very moist air getting channeled in from the lower latitudes where the air is a lot warmer and a lot more moist and focusing it into this area. At the same time, the air aloft is getting colder as this trough slowly approaches. So colder air aloft, warmth on the bottom, warmth near the surface with deep moisture is going to lead to that shower and thunderstorm pattern. And when you look, this is where we are today, this is where we are tomorrow. So there really isn't a lot of a change in this particular part of the country. Now notice up here, we have this sharp part of this trough here. That's where the cold frontal boundary is, and that cold front sweeps through. And that's what will be producing some shower activity today and into early tomorrow in this area here. When we take a look at the lower 48, this is through Sunday. This is only through Sunday. So you can see the very heavy rainfall here, the heavier precipitation back into New Mexico and West Texas, and then the spotty shower activity that's on behind this system coming up from the north. This area of heavier precipitation occurred last night and right now early this morning across parts of Nebraska and South Dakota. So if you take a zoomed in approach, this is for the same time period, just zoomed in. You can see lighter amounts in the northern areas, heavier amounts down into the south. When we take a look at the snowfall forecast, still plenty cold enough for snow, even all the way down into places like Roswell, down to near Alamogordo and along the mountains there in central and southern New Mexico, all the way down into West Texas, it could snow. So getting pretty deep with that cold air pretty far south, and there you can see the temperature anomalies over the next 5 days. So it's going to remain very chilly, in particular today and tomorrow. But we warm up. by Monday, we get a high pressure ridge coming in. This trough is still stubborn to move very quickly to the east, but it does. But notice we have strong jet stream winds coming into the Pacific Northwest coast. And this is what I mean by a dirty ridge. The high pressure builds in, but there is going to be basically a forceful jet stream pushing against the high and wanting to beat it down a little bit. And that allows pieces of energy and instability and moisture to break off, come through the high pressure ridge. And there you can see that by Tuesday. See the high pressure ridge, the top of it gets knocked off. So it's not able to completely block these low pressure systems. It will allow, the door will be open to crack, so to speak, to allow Pacific energy and moisture through. And that's going to produce, as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, some scattered shower and thunderstorm activity, but this is certainly going to be a warmer pattern. By Friday, the ridge kind of rebuilds itself. So the Thursday, Friday time frame is probably the warmest couple of days next week. But we have the next approaching trough coming in the Pacific Northwest. That'll be throwing mid and high level cloudiness into the region and some shower activity into the Pacific Northwest coast, into central and northern areas of California. Eventually, this trough will get pushed through the Intermountain West, and that will likely result in cooler temperatures and a chance for precipitation on a more widespread basis, probably sometime next weekend or shortly thereafter. So we'll be keeping an eye and talking about this system on Monday some more. Have yourself a great weekend. Stay warm. See you Monday.
I'm Shireen Herrera filling in for Jake, Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. And that does it for me. I am out of here. As I always say, 2 hands on the wheel, 2 eyes on the road. Be safe out there. And thank you for your support. While I filled in for Jake, he'll be back on Monday. I do have to say I didn't get a chance to tell Wendy this or anybody else. Cat, you're fine. I have my cat here. Like, stop holding me. She's not one that wants to be held, but none of the dogs will come on the camera, so I wanted to show her. Pill. These are the dogs. Here's my 2 dogs and my fiance. Eddie is the smaller one. Bridger's the long-haired one. Bridger is the dad of Eddie. So that's my family photo there. Can't get the dogs. They heard me talking about them, but they won't come on the camera. Bridger is super camera shy, and he does not like anything. I have to actually have a treat attachment to my phone if I want to take a good picture of him, to have a treat dangling from the phone. But this is Salem. She looks. Let her go and get out of here. But anyways, I wanted to introduce you to my family a little bit, and just I had to show a picture of the rest of them, but I could grab Salem, but not for very long. She does not like to be held for very long. But yeah, that does it for me. I hope to see you again on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show or out and about. Oh yeah, what I was trying to say was what I didn't tell Wendy was I sucked up a cat hair. I have a lot of them from the cat who's shedding on my microphone. Before I had Wendy Core on the show, I was coughing and I couldn't breathe for a second there. And I know Wendy was worried about me, but didn't say anything, but I was choking on a cat hair. So that's what I neglected to tell Wendy, and what made me think of my cat was all of the cat hair that I have to get out of here, and hope to not suck up live here on the Cowboy State Daily Morning Show. But like I said, it's been a pleasure being here. I hope you have a great weekend. I know folks coming back from spring break and flying or driving to their locations. So please check the road reports. We have a lot more snow here in central Wyoming than I was anticipating at all. When I got up at 4:45, it was just a dusting, and now we have just under 3 inches. So there you go. That's Wyoming for you. Hey, have a great rest of your day, a great weekend, and I hope to see you again. I'm